Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm, and you are watching What If Naruto was banished after Sasuke Retrieval arc. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
The End Valley. Another battle is taking place in the Valley of the End, where legendary ninjas engage in legendary combat. But what if it didn't turn out as planned? As the two ninja flew through the air, they attacked one another. Sasuke's Chidori hit the two-tailed Naruto's demonic Rasengan, sealing the curse. Chidori and Rasengan were the two cries that reverberated throughout the valley as two brothers and friends fought for dominance. When Naruto's Rasengan finally overpowered Sasuke's Chidori, Sasuke smashed into a stone wall, creating a crater, and a rock fragment struck his eyes, permanently blinding him and rendering his Sharingan eyes useless. On the other hand, the Chidori only burned Naruto's right arm. Woodland outside the Valley of the End. With the assistance of his dog, Falcon, one copycat ninja was attempting to locate the two members of Team 7 by leaping through the trees. Falcon, how far are we from them? He asked. Detecting the chakra pulse from above the cliff, they're right over that cliff. Kakashi. The End Valley. With the last of his demonic chakra remaining, Naruto screamed in rage, Sasuke Utem, why would you try to leave the village to go to that snake bastard? And on top of that you tried to kill me, and I thought of you as a brother. You stupid doby. Sasuke yelled, it was for power. Only Orochimaru can give me the power to kill my brother, and you were like a brother to me. That's why I need to kill you to gain the ultimate Sharingan to kill Itachi. Sasuke, you're an idiot. Naruto screamed with his remaining strength before passing out from chakra exhaustion. Kabuto, Orochimaru's puppet, emerged from his hiding place in a tree near the battle to retrieve the final Uchiha to deliver to his lord for his new body. However, he knew his lord would not approve of either of them when he saw that the Uchiha was no longer able to use his Sharingan, so he pulled out a needle and vial he always carried with him and drew some of his blood to use the DNA of the Sound 5 he had discovered in the forest some time ago to clone a new, stronger body. He healed the wound so no one would notice, saying, Sasuke, you showed so much promise in being Lord Orochimaru's next vessel, now you're useless, but your blood will make him an even better body when the time comes. With that, he leapt off toward the village of the Hidden Sound. Hitaki Kakashi, the copy ninja, arrived over the cliff less than a minute later to find his two students unconscious, one from pain and the other from chakra exhaustion. After his years in Anbu, Kakashi was a man of few emotions, but now he felt so many that he felt like he was about to blow up. He called forth two shadow clones and gave them instructions to carry the Uchiha while he took Naruto. Pakin, try to smell out the closest medical team on the way back and hurry, said he. Obito and Minato-sensei would not be happy with me now, I thought all the while. North Gate of Konoha. Three very anxious women are waiting for their favorite blonde ninja to return at the gates of the Hidden Leaf Village. The fifth Hokage, Tsunade Senju, the shy and timid Hinata Hyuga, the heiress of the Hyuga clan, and a pink-haired girl named Sakura Haruno, who was waiting for her teammate to bring the other back. They were all three thinking, please return safely. After a few minutes, a black blur was visible approaching the gate through the forest. Hokage-sama, we need to get these two to the hospital fast. She could tell by looking at them that Naruto was experiencing extreme chakra exhaustion, while Sasuke was more physically injured. Anbu. She screamed to the Anbu guards nearby, take Naruto to the hospital and make sure no one sees him but me, and take this traitorous piece of trash there to with constant Anbu guard. The most unlikely of people, however, had an outburst before they left. Lady Hokage, I'm going with Naruto as well. Hinata was upset to see how her blonde crush was offended. The last thing she said was, fine, but only you. Anbu, why haven't you left yet? The Anbu almost got wet from the killer intent emanating from her. This girl must really like that Gaki, maybe she'll be good for him. Tsunade and Kakashi followed closely behind as the Anbu departed. Sakura was only able to stand there in shock from the harm the two boys had sustained during that entire period. Knowing that she needed to think a lot before doing anything else, she left Konoha Medical Center after 3 hours. Both boys were at the hospital, their wounds stabilized, and Sasuke was strapped to his bed and unconscious. Naruto awoke to a startling discovery in his own chamber. When Naruto awoke, he felt heat in his hand and on his shoulder. He moved his neck to investigate, and when he did, he noticed that he had blue hair on his head. Who is that? Hold on, blue hair, why is Hinata in this place? As he recalled the girl from the Chunin exams, he thought he heard the girl's eep, and paused to see her eyes open just as he was about to try to break free of her hold. At that moment, Hinata woke up to the sound of her pillow shifting beneath her head, or, at least, what she initially believed to be her pillow, but upon opening her eyes, she discovered it was Naruto's shoulder. "Enna Naruto-kun, why you're awake?" she sputtered out, turning a tomato red color as she looked directly into her crush's eyes. He thought, wow, Hinata's eyes are really lovely. He woke up in a daze and asked, "Hey Hinata, what are you doing here?" He was still unsure of his location when he happened to notice the white ceiling. "I'm in the hospital again, what am I doing here?" Council chambers in Konoha at the same time, a very heated argument concerning two different genin, Uchiha Sasuke and Naruto Uzumaki, was taking place in the Konoha council chambers. The head of the civilian council, Danzo, said, settle down, it's time to discuss what will happen to genin Uzumaki and Uchiha. First, the punishment for Uchiha Sasuke. The council elders have decided that he shall serve a 1-year suspension from the ninja corps and be kept in the village for training until we decide he can take up missions again. Also, to ensure his loyalty to the village, we shall marry him off to all of the kunoichi of his age, said Kaharu, the elder, this time. Tsunade was already furious about what the Uchiha had done to her, which was why she had come to this village, but now they want to marry him off to every girl his age and give him a slap on the wrist. That will not take place. The killing intent emanating from Tsunade now caused several of the civilians to faint while soiling themselves. First off, the Uchiha is lucky I didn't kill him when he came in the gate. He will be in the Anbu jail for the rest of his life, if not longer. Jiraiya has already sealed his chakra, Sharingan, and curse seal, so only someone of his skill will be able to undo them, and there is no one that good anymore. The elders were aware that they couldn't stop her from doing this, but she was powerless to stop their next decree, knowing that she wouldn't survive to see the end of the day if she said. Hamaru stopped herself. Now on to the punishment for the Dem Uzumaki. With a wave of murderous intent passing over her, she exclaimed, "What has he done to be punished?" Danzo was the one who spoke this time. He gauged Tsunade's reaction, which was surprisingly blank, and said, "He attacked a loyal leaf ninja while trying to rescue him from his kidnappers. So we, along with the daimyo, have decided that Uzumaki must be exiled. I am aware that she has a plan, but once the demon is gone, I will send Root out to take him and break him to make him the ideal weapon. Now, we will give him 1 week after he has been cleared from the hospital to get his affairs in order, then if he is not out of the village, Anbu will kill him." All 3 elders in the civilian council cast votes, and the decision was made. Fine. All those in favor to exile genin Uzumaki Naruto. The Hokage and the clan heads raised their hands, saying, and all those against, as decided. Genin Uzumaki Naruto will be given 1 week after being cleared to get his affairs in order to leave the leaf or be killed. Then, with sly smiles on their faces, the half of the council that had voted in favor went out, and the sound of a desk being reduced to dust could be heard throughout the hidden leaf. The clan heads bowed and departed to return to their compounds to deliver the news after Hiyashi stood up and began to speak, saying, "We know you will find a way to make this turn out for the best, and we want you to know we all see Naruto as the hero the Yondaime wanted him to be and will help with whatever you need. Shizune, I need to ask you something. If Naruto is leaving, then why are we staying?" "I only came back to hold the job for the blonde Gaki," inquired Tsunade. Before putting their plan into action, the young apprentice said, "Milady, I will follow you wherever you go, especially if we get to bring down those responsible for Naruto-kun's pain." They then both went to visit our blonde hero. Konoha Medical Center. Naruto began to retell his entire mission to Hinata while using sound effects after hearing what had transpired during his return from his mission, which Hinata thought was unbelievably adorable. Shizune accidentally slammed the door open in her rage after Tsunade threw the Anbu guards out a window during a fight reenactment, forcing Naruto to fall into Hinata and end up in a very precarious situation. Being finally calmed down by the 2 children, Shizune exclaimed, "Ah, now isn't that just the cutest thing you've ever seen, Shizune?" In an attempt to conceal the outburst of laughter the 2 children were giving her, the apprentice said, "Why yes, it is, milady. Just one of the moments I wish I had a camera with me." They both tried their best to conceal their blushes as they leapt up from atop Hinata. "What are you doing here, Granny?" As she considered how to inform him of his exile, she remarked, "Well, Naruto, I came to check up on my favorite knucklehead, but it seems that Hinata here was doing a good job of watching you herself. You know she has been by your side ever since Kakashi returned with you from your mission." "Wait, you mean that you've been here the whole time watching me, Hinata?" he exclaimed, leaping up to give the bashful girl a hug that caused her to pass out. "Ba-chan, what did I do? You need to help her hurry." "Naruto, she's fine, she'll be up in a few minutes, but we have something you need to hear. But first I think you should tell Hinata here your secret. She really does like you, you dense knucklehead. If she accepts, then maybe we'll have a traveling partner his own age that can help him get ready to restore his clan and become a Kage in his own right, even if it's not for the leaf," she said. Considering what Hinata could do to assist him, Hinata made the decision to wake up at that moment. "And this is an order, so you have to do it." However, two teammates were having a completely different conversation outside in the hallway. Lee, the green spandex-wearing beast of the leaf, said, "Come on, Tenten, Neji-kun is resting. Why don't we visit Naruto-kun and help with rekindling his flames of youth?" But after learning that he had a secret, Tenten covered his mouth and stopped him before he could open the door to see him. As she moved in to listen, she said, "Shush, Lee, they're talking in private right now." She wanted to know the blonde's secret because, like the majority of the younger generation, she had witnessed Naruto's treatment and wanted to know why the majority of the older generation detested him. She could only shake her head up and down in response to her crush when she heard, "Now Hinata, what I'm about to tell you is an S-ranked secret that only I'm allowed to tell. If you say anything to anyone you can be killed by Anbu, okay? Okay, now you know what my birthday is, right? And you know that on the same day the Kyubi attacked the Leaf Village and how the Yondaime killed it, right?" She responded with a yes. Two things happen simultaneously before Naruto can blink. Well, that is a complete lie. The Kyubi was not killed. It could not be killed, for it is pure chakra. So the Yondaime sealed it into a newborn baby boy, and that boy is me. In the first, Hinata threw him into an embrace and apologized for his death. In the second, Lee and Tenten collapsed through the door in shock, Tenten, being the girl she is, joining Hinata in the embrace. Tsunade chose to deal with the two additional people who had been listening in and then inform them of Naruto's exile after noticing that he was now more perplexed than ever. Lee joined the two girls in shaking their heads as they yelled about Naruto's flames of youth. "Well, now that you all three have heard the true story of the Kyubi attack, do you hate Naruto like some of the older generation do?" Lee asked. Naruto broke down and sobbed all he could into the two girls who were still holding him as they plotted ways to harm the people who voted yes. "Good, and now for the news I have to tell you, Naruto. Now the rest of you can stay, you'll find out soon anyway. Well, there's no luck trying to avoid it, but Naruto, in their infinite wisdom, the Civilian and Elder Council have decided to exile you for hurting the Uchiha, thinking you were letting the fox take over. Now Naruto, don't worry, I'm not going to let you go alone. All you need to know is that I have a plan and you will be okay." He asked the three other genin, "But why don't you all hate me?" "Okay, Ba-chan, I'll trust you." Hinata tried not to stutter as she said, "BB, because Naruto-kun, you're too nice to be the KYKY Kyubi." Tenten used common sense to see it and said, "Exactly, you're just like the scrolls one use, not the weapons inside, silly." Before being struck by four enraged kunoichi, Lee remarked, "Yash Naruto-kun, your flames of youth are most impressive to hold the demon at bay. Now I want you two to go find your dad Tenten, and Lee, I want you to find Guy and talk about what you just heard. I will be calling for you all soon along with the other rookies to talk about Naruto's exile." The two of them then left. "Ho ho Hokage same wa, what do you want me to do?" replied Hinata. As she and Shizune departed to begin their plan, the blonde Hokage remarked, "Just wait here with the knucklehead, and I'll come get you both when the time is right. Shizune, I want you to get Jiraiya in my office ASAP. Pain is authorized." Office of the Hokage. As Anbu threw Jiraiya into the Hokage's office, his screams could be heard throughout the village. Less than an hour later, he neglected to mention the research he was doing when he asked, "Tsunade-heim, what do you need me for now?" As Jiraiya was ready to go and kill the council, she attempted to reassure him, saying, "Jiraiya, you must first understand that the council, in their wisdom, have decided to exile Naruto for hurting the Uchiha." As Jiraiya became serious, she realized that she was now dealing with the Sannin and Toad Sage rather than the super pervert. "Now before you go off feeding them to your toads, I have a plan. But first I need you to go see Naruto and teach him how to make your giant sealing scrolls and sealing tattoos also. If they do decide to make you the Hokage, I need you to accept, if only for a time, to send us missions." And he had no choice but to agree. In his now enraged state, he left with two objectives in mind: teaching Naruto and burning the leaf. "Tsunade, trust me, when and if I'm Hokage, I will leave and the leaf will be no more for what they have done to Naruto. Now, I have an apprentice to teach." An evil cackle resounded throughout Konoha as she began writing, saying, "Now Shizune, it's time to have some fun and really show this village what happens when you mess with my precious people. On my authority, I, Senju Tsunade, the 5th Hokage, hereby declare that Shinkotama Tenten, Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto are made Chunin. Senju Tsunade, the Godem Hokage, hereby appoints Shinkotama Tenten, Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto as my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th apprentices, respectively. Senju Tsunade, the Godem Hokage, hereby orders that Uzumaki Naruto receive 2 million ryo in financial reparations from the Uchiha for his career sabotaging attempts and egregious acts of violence against him. I, Senju Tsunade, the Godem Hokage, hereby declare that Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, Shinkotama Tenten, Shizune, and myself are free from all debts and liabilities to Konohagakure no Sato and Hai no Kuni, including past, present, and future taxes, military service, and financial and criminal obligations. They have been given custody of all of their belongings. I grant them permission to join any village they choose and leave them in their ninja ranks as unaffiliated ninja. Hereby, I, Senju Tsunade, the Godem Hokage, remand to my custody the Hokage's effects, including the contents of the Hokage library, mansion, and tower, until my successor requests that I return them because of their delicate nature. Removing them from my person, apart from by my successor, will be viewed as an act of hostility and be punishable by death. The use of seals or jutsu intended to control or punish people is prohibited from being applied to any willing or unwilling member of this village by me, Senju Tsunade, the Godem Hokage. All of these seals and jutsu need to be registered with the Hokage's office, along with a procedure for taking them off. Regardless of rank, social standing, or position within the village, any person or group found to be using such seals or jutsu, or who has used them in the past without a means of removal, will be publicly executed as a warning to others who may want to use them. If the seal or jutsu cannot be removed, the person who has been subjected to it will be given land and monetary compensation worth 1 million ryo for each year that they have been subjected to it. The money will be deducted from the accused's accounts or lands. As the Godem Hokage, Senju Tsunade, the Namikaze, and Uzumaki, fortune, and estate, I hereby cede all scrolls, money, and property to Uzumaki Naruto, who may use them however he pleases. I, Senju Tsunade, the Godem Hokage, hereby cede the scrolls, funds, and assets of the Senju fortune and estate to Senju Tsunade alone, to be used as she pleases. The members of the elder and civilian councils felt as though the Shingami himself was going to devour their souls as the ink of the Hokage's seal dried. Training ground for Team 9 logs were lying broken from the wrath of one Rock Lee all over the training ground. Yash Lee, what did you need to see me about my student in the flames of youth? Even louder than usual, Lee yelled the final line, Gai-sensei, I know Naruto-kun's secret of the fox and wish to know why he is hated even though his flames of youth are the brightest in the village. Guy had to figure out how to help his young charge after learning that Lee had discovered a very unyouthful S-class secret. Then he moved in for their famous sunshine jutsu, saying, Lee-kun, not everyone hates Naruto-kun. Most of the Jonin and Enbu have tried their best to help brighten his flames of youth, and now all we can do is help him get through this rough time. They then left to get the rest of their team and see the Hokage. The weapon store in Shinkotama before she could turn the sign to indicate that the store was closed. Tenten's killer intent caused all of the customers to run out and wet themselves as she entered her family's business. Darling, why did you scare off the customers and close the store? Asked her dad. Tenten asked as she walked forward, playing with a sword she had taken from a shelf. Daddy, do you hate Naruto for what he has in him? In the hopes that the sharp end of the sword would stay far from him, her father said, well darling, I don't know how you found out, but no, I don't hate him, as you know we do sell him his weapons. She twirled around the sword to emphasize her point, saying, good, because now Naruto needs more help than ever and we are going to help him, okay? Konoha Medical Center. As he showed her the new ceiling tattoo of his spiral with a fox head and 9 fox tails on it, he exclaimed with excitement, wow, Hinata, this new tattoo is really cool. Jiraiya had taught him and her the new seals. She stumbled out, that is nice NN Naruto-kun, and it was nice of Jiraiya-sama to teach us. As her inner Hinata ran around with a banner that read, Go Naruto-kun. He pondered, dude, Hinata stutters a lot, and she's always red like she has a fever, what's wrong with her? As a certain fox chuckled at his antics, our dense blonde hero said, hey Hinata, if you don't mind me asking, why is it you are always so red and stuttering? Well, she asserted, pressing her fingers together. She thought, no, we can't act like this anymore, we need to stand up for Naruto-kun and let him know how we feel. Naruto fainted after hearing the words, well, you see, Naruto-kun, I've liked you for a really long time, and by like I kinda sorta like you a lot, isn't that normally the other way around? Naruto thought it was a dream until he woke up and saw Hinata standing there, looking at him with a dejected expression. He was tackled to the ground with Hinata on top of him before he could say or do anything more. Now Hinata-chan, I don't want you to think I don't like you or anything, it's just that I've never been loved by someone like that before, but if you will give me the chance, I would love to see if our friendship could be taken further. As her inner self jumped up and down for the opportunity to be near her Naruto-kun and the fact that he called her Hinata-chan, Hinata said, of course Naruto-kun, I'll wait as long as you need me to, and try my best to show you what love is. Ahem. The two separated as they heard a cough and saw a female Anbu wearing a cat mask after completing her orders. The masked Anbu departed in a flurry of leaves. Naruto-san, Hinata-san, the Hokage has requested that you both come to her office immediately, and Naruto-san, she wants you to leave shadow clones to henge into yourselves while hanging into a Hyuga clan member to leave. Office of the Hokage. Naruto finally took off his henge as he entered Tsunade's office, which was crowded with all of the rookies, including Sakura, Sasuke, the Jonin Sensei, the Konohamaru Corps, and Iruka. Tsunade said, "About time you got here, Baka." Naruto attempted to throw a stapler at her, but she managed to catch it. "Now Naruto, I know you might not want to do it, but I think now is the best time for you to tell everyone here your secret as well as what the council has decided." Finally giving up, he told everyone the story and inquired about Sakura's whereabouts, his face looking as if someone had just stolen his ramen from under his nose. Even though he was aware that the Jonin Sensei with Iruka did not despise him, he later looked around the group to see how many people now did. However, 3 blurs from the Konohamaru Corps tackled him to the ground before he could even look at everyone's faces. They apologized for everything that had happened to him and asked if there was anything they could do. As Shino described how similar they were in that people treated them unfairly because of their possessions, Kiba retorted, "Naruto, those idiots, how could they exile you? You're as loyal as all of the Inuzuka clan combined." Neji's always stoic voice said, "Naruto-san, you have shown me that fate doesn't control my life, and I know that fate won't control yours either." Prior to Ino punching him in the head for being so unruly, the slothful Nara remarked, "Naruto always being troublesome, protecting the whole village by holding back the fox." Now was the time for said blonde to speak. "She was too upset to come out when I went to see Billboard Brow, so Naruto assumed she was upset about what he had done to Sasuke. Naruto, you may be loud and obnoxious, but there's no way you are a demon." Shoji ate a bag of chips and remarked, "Yeah Naruto, no one that could eat as much as me could be that bad." She made everyone consider what to give him and whether their parents could assist by saying, "Now kids, to answer your question. Yes, there is something you all could do if you wish to. Tomorrow you can visit Naruto and give him a gift to help with his training." He hanged and went to wait with Hinata and Tenten to get to know them better. Also, could the clan heirs stay for a few more moments? You two, Tenten, Hinata, and Naruto, but you can wait outside until they leave, and Naruto, don't forget to henge. Okay you 3, what I'm about to ask you is to be an S-class secret. The Senju clan, the clan myself, the first and the second Hokage belonged to that started this village, made a scroll containing information of all of the clans in the leaf that each Hokage updates once every 2 years. Seeing how long the children had stayed with her, she decided to keep going. Knowing that it would benefit not only Naruto but also their clan, they nodded and allowed her and Shizune to obtain the blood before departing. Now the basic information on all the clans is in the scroll as common knowledge, but the more advanced information is under a blood seal, for which I'm asking you for a sample of your blood to open when the time is right, and so you know anything we find in the world that belongs to your clan will be given to you. Naruto burst into the Hokage's office once more and began to yell. He finally ran out of heat and, with Hinata consoling him, sat down to hear the plan. "Granny, why'd I have to keep putting up a henge, and why did you keep Shino Shikamaru and Shoji?" he asked. With a checkmark on her forehead, she said, "First of all, don't call me Granny, and you have to keep wearing a henge so no one knows you're okay and healed, and for your last question, you'll find out soon enough. Now you 3 are here as part of the plan. Myself and Shizune have come up with. First off, we're leaving, and I mean all 5 of us, tomorrow night." Tenten demanded to know why they would depart and why Hinata was taken but not her. "Tsunade-sama, I don't doubt that your plan will work, but why am I going with you?" Tenten nearly did a Hinata and nearly passed out after saying, "That brings me to the second part. As of right now you 3 are my new apprentices." Naruto ducked a paperweight that was pointed at his head and said, "But what about Ero-sensei? I'm sure he could teach me more." Shizune attempted to convince Naruto that learning from Tsunade-sama would be beneficial by saying, "Naruto, Tsunade-sama is a legendary Sannin and a world-renowned medic ninja that could teach you things that would make your head spin. Now that that is done, I want you 3 to go into the vault and start sealing everything into scrolls, then into this one giant scroll to be sealed into Naruto's tattoo seal, where we will go through and organize everything when we are out of the village, and after that I want you 2 to go pack everything you need to leave." She responded by presenting an enormous orange and black scroll to them. With great joy she knew they would be prepared by tomorrow after witnessing them take everything, including summoning contracts, jutsu scrolls, and the forbidden scroll of seals. Konoha Medical Center. When Uchiha Sasuke, the clan's avenger, woke up in his room, he discovered that his vision had diminished. The lone Uchiha blamed Naruto and the village for not teaching him enough, thinking, my eyes, they're useless now, how am I going to beat Itachi and restore my clan without my Sharingan? Naruto was receiving his farewell presents from his friends and their families in our hero's room one by one. They approached him to present him with their gifts. With the hope that he would grow stronger and eventually obtain a complete summoning contract from the dogs, Kakashi gave him a scroll for his tracking dog squad. In the hopes of becoming a seal master, Jiraiya gave him a set of scrolls on sealing that were written by both him and the Yondaime Hokage. To assist him, Iruka gave him a copy of every academy scroll from inception to graduation. He received a scroll of simple chakra control exercises and notes on the cagebird seal from Neji, Hiyashi, Hanabi, and Hinata. He received copies of all of Guy's and Lee's scrolls on various forms of taijutsu. Tenten and her father gave him a scroll on how to make weapons and a map of the elemental nations that included locations and notes for treasure. Her father asked Naruto to find the places where he had failed. Additionally, Kurenai gave him a scroll of low-level genjutsu to aid him in one of his areas of weakness. Orochimaru, his very own canine companion who was licking Naruto to death, was an unexpected gift from Kiba, his mother Sume, and the entire Inuzuka clan. He was given a security hive full of destruction bugs from the Aburame clan by Shino and his clan. His father Shikaku, a member of the Nara clan, gave him a scroll about controlling your shadow with your chakra and a dual-sided shogi and go board to aid in his strategy. Naruto received a book on enhancing his mindscape from Ino and the Yamanaka clan. According to Naruto, Shoji and the Akamichi clan gave the best gift, a food card that could be used at practically every restaurant in the elemental counties. Finally, he received a set of pure black knuckle knives and a scroll explaining how to use them from Asuma and Konohamaru. With the exception of Hinata and Tenten, the group departed after accepting his final gifts with the exception of Orochimaru, who was now receiving pampering from the two girls seated on Naruto's bed. He sealed all of his gifts into his scroll. Tsunade departed with Shizune to retrieve the remainder of their belongings after saying, "Okay guys, let's get ready to leave. I want all of you to be at the west gates in an hour." Oh, and Naruto remember. Naruto dodged a bedpan thrown at his head and said, sarcastically, yeah, I know henge. West gate of Konoha Team Hokage, accompanied by a dog and a pig, departed Konohagakure without Sato at 0 to 200 hours, heading wherever life would take them. Flower Shop Yamanaka. Hey Ino, have you seen Naruto around lately? I really need to talk to him. Sakura called out to her longtime friend as she entered the Yamanaka flower shop the following day and noticed Ino caring for the flowers in the back. With a dead-eyed gaze, Ino thought, so she doesn't know yet. God, she was probably worried about Sasuke this whole time. As she led Sakura upstairs to her room, she said, Sakura, you might want to sit down for this. Unaware of her friend's next words, Sakura asked, Ino, what's wrong? Why did we have to come to your room? Sakura, last night Naruto along with Hinata, Tenten, Shizune, and Lady Tsunade left, for an undetermined amount of time. Ino replied. However, Sakura interrupted her before she could complete her explanation. She began to interrupt Ino, looking perplexed that not only had Naruto left, but also Lady Tsunade. Ino, why did they all leave? Hinata is a clan heir, and Lady Tsunade is the Hokage. She has to run the village. What is going on? Sakura, yesterday after Naruto returned with Sasuke, the council decided to exile him for hurting the Uchiha, so they all left with him. You know Hinata loves him and he was Lady Tsunade's reason for coming back, Ino said as she attempted to soothe her friend. Oh, and if the village doesn't change then I might go as well. I mean, they exiled a hero who has done nothing but good for this village even if he has the Kyubi sealed inside of him, Ino was thinking. After spending some time reflecting last night, Sakura said, what do you mean they exiled Naruto-kun? He only brought back that traitor of Uchiha. She no longer felt any affection for Sasuke. Sakura's change left Ino, to put it mildly, stunned. She used to worship the Uchiha, but now she despises him. The blonde Kunoichi said, Sakura, are you okay? I thought you liked Sasuke, and why are you calling Naruto Naruto-kun? Well, you see Ino, I did a lot of thinking the last 2 days, and I remembered that no matter what I did Sasuke would always be mean and turn me down, but Naruto-kun would only try to help me, and bring my spirit back up, while I only hurt him. Sakura admitted to her wrongdoing. Trying to assist her longtime friend, Ino said, well, that's a good start. Sakura, maybe if you go to Master Jiraiya, he might be able to help you get a message to Naruto. Sakura then departed to visit Jiraiya and seek assistance in contacting Naruto. Country Forest Fire Tsunade ordered her team to pause and rest in a clearing below, saying, "Okay team, it's time to stop and rest, while we take inventory of what everyone brought." She made everyone happy, especially Tenten, who loved things that didn't require a clan. After that, Naruto here is going to start sealing it into his new giant scroll, with item-specific seals. After we make our own basic scrolls with clothes, food, and the necessities, now don't worry, we all make our own giant scrolls just for us later when we start up our base. Now we will start off by listing what we brought with us. Shizune and then myself will start. Shizune began to make a list of her possessions after taking everything out of her bag. Well, I have with me 400 senbon with 2 spare launchers, 200 kunai and shuriken. I also have 10 soldier pills, with 50 normal medkits, a 2-year supply of ration bars, my own personal scroll of all the poisons I know, and a scroll of clothes. She concluded arranging everything that was before herself. Tsunade began gathering her own belongings after witnessing the completion of her first apprentice. Well, now all of that is good, but I have you beat Shizune. I have the same in senbon kunai and shuriken minus the launchers, with 100 explosive notes, 50 medkits, and 2 years of rations. I also have my own scroll on my strength technique, 3 sets of basic to expert medical books with all my knowledge and more, 3 sets of scrolls on all of my medical jutsu, along with my clothes, the slug summoning scroll, and what I asked the heirs to give me. As she watched the medical and strength scrolls she had brought, she instructed Hinata to leave after them. Hinata blushed throughout the entire time that she had Naruto-kun's undivided attention and Orochimaru licking her face. Well, I have 100 senbon kunai and shuriken, 20 explosive notes, 10 soldier pills, 5 of my homemade HH healing salves, 2 medkits, a year of rations. I also have scrolls on basic to advance Hyuga forms and JJ jutsu, and my clothes. Tenten chose to go after Hinata finished with the final item on her list. Everyone began to ask if she had signed it yet, to which she replied, "Well, I guess I'll go next. I have 300 senbon, kunai, and shuriken, along with a collection of practice weapons of every kind, 150 explosive notes, 20 soldier pills, 6 months of rations, a basic trap-making kit. I also have a basic lock-picking kit, with my clothes, and last but not least is a turtle summoning scroll from Gai-sensei." Naruto took a deep breath to tell them everything he had brought. Knowing that he was last before all the girls gave him a look of disbelief, he said proudly, "I have 500 senbon, 350 kunai and shuriken, 2 of the big Fuma shuriken, as well as 2 folding windmill shuriken, a trap and lock pick kit, 100 explosive notes, 50 soldier pills, 25 smoke bombs, with my gifts from everyone, my clothes, and 100 packets of instant ramen." Now with all of the personal items out of the way, we also have 1000 each of kunai, shuriken, senbon and explosive notes, 200 soldier pills, 100 blank mini scrolls, 20 black jumbo scrolls, 3 years of rations, 50 full med kits, 10 sets of chakra weights for your training, 20 sets of Anbu armor and gear, along with 20 sets of radios, the forbidden scroll of seals, the non-clan village jutsu scroll, the scroll of clans which contain all of the information on every clan in the leaf. We also have Sarutobi's monkey summoning scroll, the tiger summoning scroll from someone very important, and the past Hokage's diaries. Tsunade gestured to the inventory her council chambers in Konoha. Moments ago, Root Anbu informed Danzo inside the Konoha council chambers that Tsunade, Shizune, Hinata Hyuga, and Tenten Shinkotama had all left their hospital rooms, in addition to Naruto Uzumaki. The leader of the Jonin Council and a representative of the Clan Council, Shikaku Nara, stated, "First we need to elect a new Hokage. I elect Jiraiya-sama again." At that moment, Jiraiya stormed into the room and accepted the offer with a large, twisted smile on his face. Jiraiya declared, "I readily accept the office of Hokage of the Leaf." He was already planning how he was going to assist Tsunade. In an attempt to sway everyone to their side, the 2 council elders stated, "Our next order of business is to make all of them missing nins with a kill-on-sight order for Uzumaki." The speaker of the council was given the orders by Jiraiya, who said, "Now you can't do that, elders, because here are Tsunade's last orders as Hokage of the Leaf." At the end, the only sound in the chamber was a gasp at what she had done. The clan heads and Jiraiya departed after saying, "Oh, and I already sent copies to the daimyo for him to see." The other half of the council was left wondering if they could make this situation better. Country Forest Fire. While the others were playing with Orochimaru, Tsunade was teaching our blonde hero how to divide up the remaining gear after they had filled their pouches and stored their food and clothing. After a few minutes, the scroll was complete, including sections for Naruto's gifts, jutsu, medical kits, weapons, gear, and scrolls. Okay, now brat, seal it in your tattoo and let's go meet the others. Tsunade replied. Konoha Medical Center. One Uchiha Sasuke was in his room when Jiraiya ordered Anbu to inform him about Naruto and his punishment. Uchiha Sasuke, by order of the council and the 5th Hokage, you have already had your chakra, curse seal, and Sharingan sealed by Master Jiraiya, which no one can break. You will also be put into the deepest, darkest, and smallest Anbu prison cell for the rest of your life for your betrayal. Sasuke began to attack the Anbu after that. What are you talking about? I'm a Uchiha, no one can do that to me. I should be trained to kill Itachi, I'm better than all of you. And the 2 million Ryo from the Uchiha account has been given to Uzumaki Naruto for you attacking him, while the rest of the Ryo was given to the Hidden Leaf Village. The Anbu chose to put the nail in the coffin after realizing that the news was already driving the Uchiha insane. Seeing that her work was done, the Anbu took her leave to inform Jiraiya of her accomplishment. Also, Uzumaki Naruto has been made the new apprentice of the 5th Hokage along with Jiraiya. In order to prevent me from killing Itachi, they stole my money, my chakra, and my Sharingan. Sasuke was furious about what had happened and thought, and on top of that they're giving the Dobi everything that should be mine. Country Forest Fire. After completing the inventory, Tsunade made the decision to inform everyone of their next course of action. First off, I'm going to tell you what the vials of blood were for, and then about the first part of our plan. Then Shizune here will tell you the last and biggest part of it. The blood I took, from the clan heirs along with the Uchiha, and the Kurama clan heir, were for the scroll of clans here. Under every clan name is a section sealed under a blood seal. That seal holds a scroll with every jutsu the clan has, plus information on hidden weapons and summons, that were sealed away before Konoha was started, she explained to her pupils. Tsunade used the blood to open the blood seals and stated, "This leads me to our next goal, which is to gather up as many rare weapons as we can, along with summoning scrolls to build a reputation." The younger three could only gasp when they heard the statement. Now that Lady Tsunade has told us the smaller picture of our plan. The bigger picture is we are not going back to the leaf, it is corrupted and will soon die from the inside. They believed that what she had said was correct. So on to the reason for building a reputation. We are going to start our own hidden village, by collecting resources and people from around, along with whoever leaves the leaf. When the time comes we already know where and what the village will be called, but that is going to be a surprise, she concluded. Tenten, who was more concerned about her, inquired, "So what you're saying is that when the time is right our families will be able to come with us?" Tsunade began to speak, whistling softly. "Now what do we have here? It seems with the information we have from the Hyuga clan part of the scroll, along with the treasure map Tenten's dad gave you, the Hyuga clan's summoning scroll is near Wave, which happens to be where we're going next." Naruto jumped up and down while clinging to Hinata and exclaimed, "Wow, Hinata-han, what do you think is your clan summons? Oh, I bet it's something cool." Shizune urged the group to move toward the border, saying, "Now that we have explained our entire plan, it's time to get moving. Our first stop is to find the legendary Raijin, then to Wave to find the Hyuga clan's summoning contract, and a surprise." Office of the Hokage. The new Hokage Jiraiya of the Sannin sat in his chair and watched the hot springs through the Hokage's crystal ball until a certain pink-haired Kunoichi barged in and knocked him off his seat, that is. He covered his enormous nosebleed and said, "Sakura, what are you doing here? Is there anything I can do for you?" She handed the letter to Jiraiya and said, "Why yes, there is Jiraiya-sama. I was hoping you could use one of your toads to send this letter to Naruto-kun." With a perverted smile, Jiraiya thought, "Naruto-kun, is it now? Well, it seems that my boy has quiet the fan club." Then Gamakichi, Naruto's own toad summon, materialized. "Of course I can, Sakura, just give me a minute." Summoning jutsu. "Gamakichi here will deliver it for you. Hey Gamakichi, can you give this letter to Naruto the next time he summons you?" the sage of the toad replied. Before nearly being struck by a blushing Sakura, Gamakichi said, "Yeah, I can give it to boss, if I get a bag of treats." "Who is it from?" "This pink-haired girl." "Hey, are you the boss's girlfriend?" After giving Gamakichi the letter, Sakura left, with Gamakichi also poofing, "No, I'm not his girlfriend, just a very sorry friend, and here you can have this. I was going to save it for later, but you can have it if you tell Naruto I'm sorry." Town Square in Konoha. The entire village assembled a few hours later to hear the council's announcement, but Jiraiya of the Sannin was up there instead. "Thank you for gathering here today. For today you all get to hear an S-class secret that the third Hokage thought would be for the best if you didn't. But since Tsunade left to train her 3 new apprentices, I am the new Hokage and I can tell you." When he first announced that Tsunade was leaving and Jiraiya was the new Hokage, the crowd began to whisper. At both of those statements, half of the audience jeered, while the other half applauded. but first you all need to know that as of 2 days ago the council has decided to exile Uzumaki Naruto for bringing back the traitor Uchiha Sasuke, who will be locked up for the rest of his life. Jiraiya turned around and walked away to give the audience time to reflect on what they had done to their hero's son. Now onto the announcement. The now exiled Uzumaki Naruto is none other than the son of the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash of Konoha. The children of the older generation, who still despise Naruto, then left them to continue their hatred. Clan Compound Hyuga, the elders of the clan, have simply worn Hiyashi Hyuga's patience a bit too thin. He was furious because he knew they were holding meetings behind his back but was unable to verify it. However, a few rooms over at this moment, one of those covert meetings was taking place. So it is decided we will send out a bounty for not only the demon child but that weakling of an heiress as well, one of the elders replied. Before they all departed to resume their regular activities, another elder stated, "Yes, and not only that, but we will send some of our branch members with Danzo's route to hunt them." Office of the Hokage Iruka came into the room holding a scroll, looking perplexed, barely 5 minutes after Jiraiya's speech. "Hokage-sama, here is the mission scroll you asked for, but why do you need it? It's only a small mission to stop a gang in the Land of Rivers." "Well, Iruka, this mission is for a very special group of ninja," Jiraiya replied. Iruka understood Jiraiya's hidden meaning when she said, "Well, I'm sure the council won't like who you're giving this mission to, but I do, and I say the council can just deal with it." Jiraiya put his plan to burn the leaf and everyone not deserving of the will of fire into action when he said, "Good, now for your next mission. I need you to give these scrolls here, with the council's orders for Naruto and Tsunade's own to the daimyo at the fire capital." Before departing, Iruka remarked, "Hi Hokage-sama, but when I come back I plan to start training for the Jonin trials. I've heard that Jiraiya has yet another plan to undermine the council. All right, Iruka, I've got the ideal group for you to instruct." 3 academy students dropped the paintbrushes they were using to paint the Hokage mountain when they sneezed somewhere in the Hidden Leaf village. Chamber of the Secret Council Danzo and the 2 council elders were busy hatching a plan to take down the now missing demon container and his gang. Danzo called out for his Root Anbu to approach him, saying, "Damn them Namikaze, every one of them. They just don't know how to stay out of my way. First the 4th Hokage, and now his demon of a son, Root." A member of Root said, "Yes, Lord Danzo, what can we do for you?" The other 2 elders simply nodded their heads in agreement as Danzo stated, "We want you to go with a group of branch Hyuga, to track and capture Tsunade and her team. Without that kind-hearted idiot Sarutobi, the leaf will soon be mine to transform into what it should have been all along," Danzo thought, "and then the world, as we eliminate all of the other hidden villages that are in my way." Speaking to the other 2 elders, Hamaru remarked, "Damn that woman, not only did she leave but she took most of the money we've been using to found our root program. And now we have Jiraiya thinking that he can boss us around. Well, we'll make him bow down to us, the true rulers of Konohagakure," Kaharu replied. "Cave in the fire country to get the group's attention," Shizune said, "Okay guys, we'll stop here for lunch." As Hinata turned off her Bakugan, she said to her new senseis, "Tsunade-sama, Shizune-san, I see someone in the cave over there, they look hurt." Tsunade arranged her team in a defensive formation so she could observe it while ensuring their safety. In an attempt to get the person out of the cave, Tsunade yelled, "Okay, we know you're in the cave, come out and we will not hurt you." And it was successful, but the individual who left was not who they had anticipated. All 3 Chunin began attacking her after recognizing the person who had emerged from the cave. Tsunade punched the ground and yelled, "Hey, why are you attacking her?" to get her students to stop. As he struggled to stand up, Naruto said to her, "Granny, why did you do that? She's with Orochimaru and the Sound. She attacked us in the Chunin exam." When Tsunade noticed that the girl was still in a taijutsu stance, she said, "Naruto Baka, look at her, does it look like she still works with Orochimaru? Her clothes are dirty and it looks like she's been out here for months now. Child, stand down and tell us your story before I put you down." The girl relaxed from her taijutsu stance and started to share her story. "Well, my name is Kin. I was once a genin of the Sound, but Orochimaru tried to have me killed to use his resurrection jutsu." Before Tsunade could calm them down, the 3 Chunin gasped at Orochimaru's brutality. "But as you see, I managed to get away. I was just living in the forest until a few days ago when I heard that the Sound 5 were coming by. I hid then in this cave only to see Kabuto come and take their dead bodies away, to experiment on them. Now wait, weren't you the one that was chasing after the Uchiha?" Naruto responded. Tsunade began speaking before Naruto could even open his mouth. "Okay Kin, now I need to ask you some questions, okay? When Kin nodded, she went on, first I up until now was Hokage of the Leaf, but they exiled Naruto here for bringing back the Uchiha. So we all left, so now I have a question for you. How would you like to join us, on a provisional basis first of course, replied Tsunade. Seeing that no one would hate her, Kin was thrilled about the opportunity to leave this forest and could only say, yes, of course. Tsunade-sama, I would love to join you. I'm sure you will treat me a lot better than that jerk Orochimaru ever did. Tsunade knew they were going on a journey when she smiled at the new team member. Now that is all settled, let's go have some lunch and talk about training. Naruto was excited to learn some new jutsu, so when he heard the word training, all he could do was smile. Tsunade struck Naruto in the head as he yelled, awesome granny, what are you going to teach us? That cool scalpel jutsu Kabuto uses, or maybe your strength taijutsu style. You're not going to learn anything yet, we're going to talk about our training schedule, but first Naruto, now that you're a chunin I can tell you of your family, the blonde Hokage replied. However, Tsunade struck Naruto with a rock from across the fire before he could even say anything. Now before you start to talk let me finish. Naruto, your mom was Kushina Uzumaki, the last of the royal family of the Hidden Whirlpool Village, and your dad was none other than Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Tsunade was shaking everyone. Naruto then burst into flames. You mean that the man that sealed the fox inside of me is my own father? How could he? Did he hate me? What happened? He broke down in tears. No Naruto, he did not hate you. He loved you, and trusted that only you could hold the fox back. The Slug Sanin replied. Now on to this last surprise for you. You as the last member of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans fall under the CRA, Clan Restoration Act, which allows you to take on many wives in order to recreate your clan, but only if you love them, because if you don't I will punch you from one end of the elemental countries to the other. And when that was said, not only did Naruto faint but Hinata did the same. The group finished eating after Naruto and Hinata were finally awakened. Naruto chose an awe from the group and remarked, so I can have multiple wives, but only if I love them. Well, that is no problem, I would never marry someone without love. To let everyone know what he intended to do, Naruto said, but only if it's okay with Hinata. I'm here, since I said I would give her my first chance of love. Hinata blushed slightly upon hearing that Naruto-kun had given her the option to choose whether he had many wives, but when he called her his Haim, her face turned a new shade of red. She gave Naruto a big hug and Tenten gave her a jealous look, even though Tenten didn't understand why she was jealous. Well, Naruto-kun, as long as they're GG good people and I'll love you, it's okay wi with me. Shizune gathered everyone together and said, okay, now that we're all together as a group, it's time to talk about training. As the group gathered, Tsunade made the decision to begin. So in the morning we will start with physical training and chakra control, and then we will move on to team taijutsu and weapon training and sparring. Along with team jutsu training after lunch we will have a small training session in tactics as well as your medical training. Then for the rest of the afternoon we will train in our summons, mastering what we already know in our personal training. Tsunade explained the training plan that Shizune created herself. Tenten asked her sensei, Tsunade-sensei, did either of Naruto-kun's clans have a bloodline? What am I doing? Did I just call Naruto Naruto-kun? And why did I give Hinata-chan that look? Although he is Hinata-chan's, he is kind of cute and makes an effort to help everyone. He is also capable of having multiple wives. The blonde next to her crossed her mind. No, I can't think of this right now, I barely know him. Tsunade responded to the girl with the bun hair by recognizing the kun she used with Naruto's name. Well, neither have a bloodline per se, but the members of both were known to have huge chakra reserves, and if you add in the fox then, Naruto has more chakra than any Kage. She is now focusing on the group's male member. Speaking of which, while Shizune and myself check on Kin here, I want you Naruto to start to meditate to calm down your chakra, it will help us with your control later on. Putting on his pouting face, Naruto asked, do I really have to Tsunade-ba-chan? 3 of the girls blushed greatly at this, and Shizune blushed less while receiving a head slap from Tsunade. With a deadly gaze, Tsunade responded to Naruto. Yes Yubaka, the better control you have the more powerful jutsu you can use. Naruto jumped up upon learning about jutsu and left to go meditate. Anbu Jail, the last Uchiha and Sannin Jiraiya were walking down the halls of the Anbu high-level prison, and anyone could tell you that this was something you didn't see every day. The latter, however, is demanding to be fired and given training. Before being cast into his shadowy cell, Sasuke yelled, I demand that you train me, I am of the Uchiha clan, I am better than all of you. Jiraiya's statement, boy you need to learn your place, there is no more Uchiha clan. Just you and Itachi. infuriated Sasuke because his clan was being disparaged in such a way. Before leaving the prison, Jiraiya remarked, "And now Itachi is the only one that is able to restore your clan." She heard Sasuke scream before Anbu knocked him out, knowing that Sasuke would be there for a very long time. The mindscape of Naruto knew exactly where he was when he woke up and saw a sewer in an attempt to attract the fox's attention. He yelled, "Okay, you dumb fox, where are you and what do you want?" As she gestured Naruto to a chair in front of her cage, the Kyubi said, "Come over here, kid. It's time we talk, there's a lot you need to know." Naruto sat down in the chair and saw that a young woman with long red hair and 9 foxtails emerging from her red kimono was in the cage instead of a giant fox. Bewildered, Naruto questioned, "Wait, where's the fox, and who are you?" She began speaking as soon as she saw him sit down. "Naruto, I'm the Kyubi, but first things first is I'm sorry about me being sealed inside of you. I didn't mean to attack Konoha." She stopped him by raising her hand when she noticed he was going to start screaming at her. "You see, I was summoned by a very evil man named Madara Uchiha to destroy the village." "Wait, Uchiha? As in the same clan Sasuke Teme is from?" replied Naruto. Kyubi chose to go on after noticing that he was listening. "Yes, Kit, the one and the same. He and his eyes have the power to control me now onto more important matters. I cannot and will not be sealed inside of a weakling, nor can my container have weak mates, so I'm going to fix that problem." Not wanting to refuse the fox's assistance, Naruto asked, "And how exactly are you going to fix that? I know you can help me, but what about any mates I may have?" "Easy there, kid. All you have to do is give anyone you mate your mark now. Before you ask how you mark them, that's easy. All you have to do is bite them between their collarbone and push your chakra into them. The rest is all up to me." Naruto was beginning to worry that it was a trap after learning how to do it but not knowing what would happen. "So you told me what I have to do, but what will happen when I do it? It's not a trap to get you out, is it?" "Now, Kit, that is a good question. I see you're finally using that brain of yours. First off, what I will do is transfer some of my chakra to anyone you bite to make them like you," the fox responded. "What do you mean like me?" her Jinchuriki inquired. "What I mean is that you and them will stop aging around the age of 25, or they will be taken back to the age of 25. Also, you won't die from anything short of cutting your head off or you heart out," she began to clarify. She took a deep breath and began anew. "Next, any bloodline your mate may have, the rest of your family will get from your chakra being in them." She chose to finish her sentence after realizing Naruto understood what it meant. "Now about me escaping. Yes, hopefully I will be able to get a body. Even then though, I will still be tied to you until you die. Now go, your team is worried about you." Naruto then vanished from his thoughts, leaving a happy Kyubi in her cage. Fire Country Cave. In a panic, Hinata screamed, "Naruto-kun! Naruto-kun!" in an attempt to wake up her beloved. "Hinata Haim, is that you?" Naruto asked, waking up in a daze and seeing only a worried face and blue hair. "Beautiful," was all he could think. While everyone else was staring at him, Hinata asked worriedly, "Yes, and Naruto-kun, are you okay? You were meditating and then you just fell over, and I couldn't wake you up." Naruto said, "Sorry, Hinata Haim. I was talking to the Kyubi. Did you know she was a girl?" As though speaking to a demon inside your head was commonplace. With concern in her voice, Tsunade questioned, "Naruto, what do you mean you were talking to the fox? What did she want? Is she trying to get out?" Before he began to tell them everything the Kyubi had told him, Naruto said, "Don't worry, Ba-chan, but you all might want to sit down, it's a long story." Before Tsunade got up and gave him a head flick, he said, "So Ba-chan, like I told you, she just wants to help me, and she can't hurt me without dying." After flicking, Naruto Tsunade sat back down and began speaking. "I still don't trust her, Naruto, but if she does prove trustworthy then you can accept her deal, but now we need to get moving. We have one more stop before we get to Waves, so pack up, we leave in 1 hour." Fire Country border to get her group to stop, Tsunade said, "Okay group, it's time to stop for a break." As she and Shizune left to discuss their plans, the blonde medic told her team, "Relax, we'll be at the cliff. The Raijin fell off in an hour." Naruto and the girls took a ration bar and sat down in a circle to converse. Kin chose to strike up a conversation because he didn't like the silence. "So why did you all leave anyway? I heard you won the war. What could have happened to get you exiled, besides hurting the Uchiha?" she inquired. Naruto began his story by saying, "Well, you see, I didn't just hurt their Uchiha. I blinded him, so his Sharingan is useless now, and so is he. But not only that, but as you heard, I'm the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Kitsune. So back in my village I was hated by most of the village," he stated to her. She understood Naruto's purpose, but she was still perplexed as to why the girls were pursuing him. Kin said to Hinata and Tenten, "Okay, so I understand why you're here, but why did you and the others follow him? Hinata chose to respond first after hearing her query with a red face. Hinata held Naruto's hand and said, well Kin, you see, I've had a crossing crush on Naruto-kun here for a very long time, so I decided to leave with him to get to know him better and express my love for him. On the other hand, I felt that any village that would throw away a hero like Naruto would throw away this normal ninja without a second thought. Also, I know he is not the fox, just her jailer. Tenten concluded her narrative. Okay, so I get you too, but what about Tsunade-sensei and Shizune-sama? Kin responded. This time, Naruto responded to her in an attempt to distract himself from Hinata holding his hand and prevent him from blushing. Even though he was still blushing a little from Hinata holding his hand, Naruto said, well you see, I'm the reason that Ba-chan came back to the Leaf Village, so if they would kick me out then she thought why should she stay. After that discussion, the group decided to discuss their backgrounds, training, and future aspirations. Not too far away, Shizune asked her sensei, so Tsunade-sama, what do you think about our little group? Tsunade, leaning against a tree, responded to her, well Naruto and Tenten will need to work on their chakra control, while Tenten and Hinata will have to work on their chakra reserves. The young medic inquired, what about that new girl Kin? Do you trust her? She did work with Orochimaru. Before responding, Tsunade sighed as she considered the question posed by her first apprentice. Well Shizune, I don't know, she doesn't seem to like Orochimaru anymore, we'll just have to wait and see. Tsunade responded to her apprentice, as a student, she has small reserves and decent control, but she needs more of both to work with us. And she won't live to see the next day if she does betray us. Tsunade reflected on what she would do to the new girl in her group. As she prepared to depart, Tsunade said to Shizune, well, Shizune, I think we gave them enough time to get to know each other, let's get them and go, I want to make it to Wave by nightfall. Ground 7 for Leaf Training. Kakashi arrived to find his final pupil waiting for him on the bridge and approached her. The copy ninja asked her, yo Sakura, what did you want to see for? Well you see Kakashi-sensei, I wanted to know if you would train me to be a real kunoichi? Sakura inquired. Kakashi concluded that it was time to act like a true sensei and begin his duties after considering what the pink-haired girl had asked him. Before she could get all emo on him, he chose to finish his sentence, Sakura, you and I have a lot of work to do. You need to work on being a ninja and not just a fangirl. And me, well it's about time I become a real sensei to you and stop thinking about what happened in the past, he said. Sakura began stretching to begin training after realizing her sensei was correct on both counts. The genin asked her sensei, you're right sensei, it's time to get serious, what do we start on first? Kakashi had a brilliant idea while considering what to start her on. Well Sakura, first your chakra reserves and your stamina are extremely low, so you're going to be running laps up and down this tree, then we're moving on to water walking, the jonin stated to his pupil. Hi Kakashi-sensei. Sakura exclaimed prior to beginning her drill. The silver-haired ninja took out his small orange book and grinned at his pupil. Before he sensed a chakra presence Shunshin beside him, Kakashi told himself, well, helping Sakura is a start, one bad habit at a time is good. Kakashi said to the Anbu who Shunshin next to him, well Anbu-san, is there anything I can do for you? Before leaving, the Anbu said, Kakashi-san, the Hokage requests that you come to his office immediately. Before he left, Kakashi said, well Sakura, keep training until you're almost out of chakra, head home and I'll see you the same time tomorrow. Sakura is left alone to complete her training and gain strength. Office of the Hokage. Summoning Jutsu. Jiraiya called out, bringing forth 6 tiny messenger toads. Their leader asked the Sannin, what do you need of the toad messengers Jiraiya? Jiraiya informed them of their tasks, saying, Gamaboda, I need you and your group to go to the hidden villages of Sand, Mist, Cloud, Rock, Waterfall, and Sound. Gamaboda hopped directly on top of Jiraiya's desk and looked directly into his eyes. And why would you want us to go out to hidden villages not even allied with us? Asked the toad. I need you to discreetly let the information about Tsunade leaving the leaf get to their leaders, again without being seen, Sannin, the toad, replied. The other 5 toads leapt out of the windows on their way to their targets after jumping off the Hokage's desk. Before jumping out the window, Gamaboda remarked, Jiraiya, you better have a good plan, because you know if the boy gets hurt Gamabunta will squash you like a fly. Before Kakashi entered his room, Jiraiya pondered, I hope this plan works for Naruto's and my sake. Hitaki Kakashi, the world's most late ninja, was early, and Jiraiya's head appeared to be about to blow up as he leaned in his chair. Kakashi said, Jiraiya-sama, you needed to see me? Jiraiya calmed down and began to speak. Ah yes Kakashi, it seems that you only have one student left, so while you're training her, how would you like a long-term in-village mission? Even though the copy ninja knew where this was headed, he replied, well, Hokage-sama, as a loyal ninja of the leaf I would be honored to take any mission you would give me. Okay, then you have two S-ranked missions. The first is for you to write down every jutsu you know, separate them by element and rank. The Hokage responded. Kakashi chose to ask Jiraiya what he needed his jutsu for, not anticipating that aspect of his mission. The copy ninja questioned, if you don't mind Hokage-sama, why do you need the jutsu I've copied? Jiraiya smiled and said, well, Kakashi, if you must know, your jutsu are going to be a gift for a certain group of ninja. Jiraiya gave him his second mission after realizing that Kakashi understood what he had said. Now your second mission is to find any and all root members and spies in the leaf. You will have the help of your old Anbu squad on this. He was informed that Jiraiya had gotten a group of Anbu into his office by pressing down on a seal beneath his desk. Anbu Captain. You called for us, Lord Hokage? Yes, you have a mission. You and your team will be working under Hitaki Kakashi again to clean the leaf of root Anbu and spies. Jiraiya replied to the Anbu members. Kakashi declared, yo guys, I'm back. After removing and donning his wolf mask, Kakashi and his group departed to allow the Hokage to conduct additional surveillance. Cliff at the edge of Fire Country. Well team, here it is. This is where Naruto knocked the Raijin off the cliff into the water. Tsunade stated to her teammates. Hey, it wasn't my intention, I was being attacked, exclaimed Naruto. Shizune intervened to break up the argument before it even began. Here's the plan team, first me and Tsunade-sama will be staying up top watching your progress. Tenten, you and Kin will be on that lower ledge holding the rope for Hinata and Naruto to climb with. Shizune began to go over the plan with the group. Now Naruto, your job is to dive down and get the Raijin, while Hinata waits for you on top of the water to help you if you need it, she concluded her statement. Naruto retrieved their equipment from his enormous scroll after hearing their jobs. Some had climbing ropes and kunai to fasten to the rope. In order to avoid getting his clothes wet, he also pulled out his trunks. Okay girls. Let's do this, Naruto exclaimed as he made his way to the cliff's edge. The group began to descend the cliff after noticing that the upper portion was smooth, reaching a small ledge halfway down. Tenten set up the rope and said, okay Naruto, Hinata, this is where we need to start using the rope. Hinata couldn't help but feel scared as she looked down. Naruto squeezed Hinataheim's hand and said, it'll be okay Hinataheim, if anything happens I'll be there to save you. Hinata and Naruto began descending the rope after she regained her confidence. Kin shouted to her new pals, be careful you two, we'll be waiting. When Naruto reached the bottom, he began searching unsuccessfully for the Raijin. Hinata said to her beloved, and Naruto-kun, perhaps I could find it with my Bakugan. The statement, that's a great idea Hinataheim, was made by Naruto. Before giving Hinata a huge blush, he picked her up in a big hug and spun her around until they nearly fell in. Saying, Bakugan, enabled Hinata to see into the water by using her bloodline. Hinata remarked, it's straight down there Naruto-kun. As Naruto put it, okay Hinataheim, see you in a bit. Naruto then dove into the water to locate the Raijin. 5 minutes had passed and Hinata still hadn't seen Naruto appear concerned. She began to glance down with her Bakugan. When Hinata saw Naruto simply floating past the Raijin, she thought, oh Naruto-kun, what could you be doing just staying down there? Tenten questioned, Hinata, what's taking Naruto so long? Hinata shouted to the other girl, I don't know. Naruto leapt out of the water and landed directly beside Hinata, holding something in each hand as he surged up from the bottom. Hinata asked her crush, NN Naruto-kun, what took you so long? Naruto began to make his way back to the cliff while concealing one hand behind his back. Naruto said to her, oh, it's nothing, Hinataheim, let's go. Hinata chose to let Naruto surprise them despite her constant curiosity as she walked back up the cliff. Tenten and Kin began pulling the ropes up to assist Naruto and Hinata as they saw them ascending the rope again. Kin questioned the blonde, Naruto, what were you doing down there? Nervously, Naruto uttered, oh, it was nothing, let's continue, so we can get back to Tsunade-sama. After putting the rope away and getting them up, the group began to walk the remaining distance. Tsunade went to check on everyone when she saw the group return. The medic ninja questioned, Naruto, what took you so long down there, and did you get the Raijin? Naruto pulled the flowers from behind his back and gave them to the girls, saying, of course Tsunade-sensei, but not only that, I also saw these really beautiful flowers and got one for each of you beautiful ladies. Naruto was embraced by all of the Hinata, Tenten, Kin, Shizune, and Tsunade as he gave them each a flower. In Naruto's mind, the Kyubi thought, now that's my boy, a lady killer already. Naruto managed to free himself by removing the Raijin from his trunks. Naruto activated the legendary blade and said, and here is the Raijin. Naruto said to the girl with the bun hair, hey Tenten, would you like to hold on to it for now? I mean, you are the best one here with weapons. Tenten ran up to Naruto and began to jump up and down like a young schoolgirl. Tenten hugged Naruto tightly and said, oh yes Naruto-kun, I would love to hold on to it. Tsunade looked at the two and thought, that's the second time she called him Naruto-kun, looks like he might have his second girl sooner or later. Tenten may want him to, but I won't let that deter me from being his first wife and having the final say over who he can date, Hinata thought to herself, but she is a nice girl, and I know that she doesn't hate him for his burden. As everyone prepared to depart, Tsunade said, okay girls, stop groping Naruto, it's time to leave. Next stop wave. The Leaf Jonin bar 3 of the strongest Jonin in the Hidden Leaf Village, Sarutobi Asuma, Might Guy, and Hitaki Kakashi, were seated around a table. Guy asked his longtime rival, so Kakashi, how is your last student doing? Well Guy, she's getting better, by the end of this week she'll be able to move on to water walking. Kakashi stated to him. Asuma began to speak as she ordered the group another round of sake. Asuma asked the green spandex ninja, you know Guy, you lost a student as well, so how are your two doing? Guy told his Jonin companion, they're fine, they understand why she left, and they're working hard to be on par with her the next time they meet. Kakashi may have had the most brilliant idea of his life when he reached for his cup of sake. The copy ninja said to his opponent, Guy, you have two students and I have one, why don't we do joint missions together to give them all more experience? Kakashi, my eternal rival in youth, I must say that is the single most brilliant idea you have ever had, Guy replied. After finishing that, they all began speaking more quietly. So what do you guys think will happen now that Tsunade-sama and her group are gone? Guy addressed the group. Asuma told the taijutsu master, I don't know, the village itself is rotting and corrupted, they have already dishonored my father and clan. Kakashi nodded his head as he spoke, not only that but they also dishonored the fourth and his family. Kakashi had a serious expression on his face, which was visible even through his mask, as he looked around to see if anyone was nearby. The silver-haired ninja said, how would you two like to help me on a mission? Kakashi went on after observing the other two leaf ninja nod their heads. Me and my old Anbu team are to find all root Anbu and spies, killing the later, Kakashi stated. All the other two could say before heading out to meet with Kakashi's Anbu team was, we're in. Ramen stand Ichiraku Echunin, a special Jonin, two Jonin, and a ramen waitress were discussing the events of the past 2 days while they were eating their ramen. Anko asked her longtime friend, so Kurenai, how is your team doing now that Hyuga girl is gone? It's going as good as it can, I'll need to bring in someone else so we can do missions, but they're still training hard, Kurenai stated to the snake ninja. Yugo removed her mask and began to speak, the village is going downhill fast, isn't it? Every one of the girls began nodding their heads in response to her question. First they exile Naruto-kun, and Tsunade-sama and her group leave with him. What's happening? Ayame responded. Hana began, my clan is already discussing what they might do if the leaf falls more. The Chunin concluded, we may have pact loyalty to the village but not to the corrupt people in it. Somewhere nearby, another group of girls were discussing the same topics as they continued their conversation. The great Naruto Bridge's exterior is being cleared. Tsunade addressed her team, saying, okay team, last break before Wave and the Hyuga summoning contract. Her team sat down in a circle and began talking while she handed them ration bars. Naruto asked his new sensei, so Ba-chan, what's the first thing you're going to teach us? The gifted ninja said, well, Naruto, since you asked, I have a question for you. Do you know the secret of shadow clones? Naruto questioned, what are you talking about, Tsunade-sensei? Tsunade chose to show him what she meant by approaching the blonde. So Tsunade said to her second apprentice, okay Naruto, make a shadow clone and send it with me. Naruto created a shadow clone and sent it with Tsunade, but she returned alone less than a minute later. The blonde medic said, now Naruto, what did I just do to you? Naruto, who was recovering his memories from the clone, said, well you just wait, why did you punch me in the head? Naruto, I didn't punch you. I punched your clone. You see, when a shadow clone is dispelled, the creator gets their memories back. It's great for espionage and training, the Sannin replied. Naruto realized after hearing this that he could have trained with it all along. Shocked, Naruto questioned, you mean I could have been using this to train the whole time and no one told me? Tenten informed him, well, Naruto, your sensei didn't really help you that much. The blonde knucklehead said, hey Ba-chan, I have an idea. She told Naruto to go on, looking at him and wondering what he could have thought of. Well, if you're going to be teaching use, then why don't we share everything we know, like my shadow clones, Tenten's weapons, Kin's sound jutsu, Hinata's chakra control, yours and Shizun's medical jutsu, and all of our summons. Naruto inquired about his new sensei. Now Naruto, that is a great idea, but about the summons we will have to ask the head of our main summons if we can, and more than likely pass some trials. The Sannin responded with astonishment at his concept. Wow, Naruto-kun just came up with a fantastic idea that would be really helpful to non-clan ninjas like me. Tenten looked at Naruto with a sparkle in her eye, and everyone except Naruto noticed. Wait, did I just call him Naruto-kun again? What am I thinking? Bad Tenten bad? Tenten thought. Naruto called out to summon Gamakichi, saying, well, I should check on the toads anyway, so I'm going to ask them summoning jutsu. The young toad questioned, hey boss, what's up? Naruto asked his personal summons, just checking up on you guys, how's the family? Oh, and could you ask your pops if it's okay for me to sign other summoning contracts? Gamakichi handed Sakura's letter to Naruto and said, yeah, we're doing good boss, you know, resting after that invasion, but yeah, I can ask pops about it, but before I leave, some pink-haired girl asked me to give you this letter. Naruto took the letter, put it in his pocket, and decided to read it later. The toad was sent home by Naruto, who said, thanks Kichi, I'll read it later. As her team prepared to depart, Tsunade said, now that you're done with that, it's time to go get Hinata here her summons. Restaurant in Hidden Leaf Village. Sakura inquired, so Ino, what do you think about this? Ino responded to her friend by glancing at her before biting into her dango. Ino said to her longtime friend, I don't know Sakura, Naruto was a hero, he stopped that demon in the invasion, and he brought Tsunade-sama back. Sakura said to the blonde ninja, I know, the leaf isn't doing that good, are we? No, Daddy is at a meeting right now with the other clan heads. It seemed like it was important and I overheard him talking about that some of the clans are thinking about leaving if things get worse, Ino replied. Sakura looked at her friend and, although she had anticipated it, she was still shocked by what she was hearing. You know Ino, they might not be the only ones. I don't know about you, but I'm going to try and meet Naruto-kun as soon as I can, to at least try to be his friend and make up for my mistakes. The girl with pink hair said to her companion. After letting them eat in silence, Ino remarked, well, we'll just have to see where things go, and hope for the best. Nara clan gathering space. So now that the new tax rate for certain individuals has been decided, it's now time to vote on to staying with Tsunade-sama or the elders, said Shikaku. The Akamichi are with Tsunade and her group if they return to the leaf or not, said Shuza. Inoichi, the clan chief, stated, we of the Yamanaka are also with Tsunade. The head of the Nara clan declared, that woman is too troublesome to not be with. The head of the Inuzuka clan, Sume, declared, the pack is loyal to the leader of the leaf, not her advisors. Hiyashi said, thy Hyuga started with the Senju and won't leave them. It's illogical for us to listen to the elders any longer, Shibi, the head of the Aburame clan, said bluntly. Shikaku concluded the meeting by saying, then it's decided, let us not talk about this again until the time comes. The mindscape of Naruto the Kyubi said, so kid, what brings you here now? Naruto said to his demon, well, Fox, I need to know how long will it take for you to get out. The newly named Q told her container, first off, kid, call me Q. Second, it will take at least a year, but I'll tell you ahead of time to prepare you. Naruto sighed with relief that his first query had been addressed and that the fox would not be appearing for some time. Now my last question, when I do get a new mate, how long until we gain the rest of my mate's bloodlines? Q replied to Naruto. Now kid, that's a good question, it should only take about a week after you mark your mates, Q stated to Naruto. Naruto phased out of his mind and said, okay Q, well we're going to hit waves so I have to go, I'll try to talk to you more until you get out, okay? Q thought, that would be good. Naruto-kun, wave country. Tsunade, dressed in their typical all-black shinobi swimwear, stood on the beach at the end of the Great Naruto Bridge team. As her team searched the beach for a clue, Tsunade said, okay team, if we decoded this clue right and according to the map Tenten's dad gave us the summoning scroll for the Hyuga clan should be around here somewhere. Tenten asked her hero, Tsunade-sensei, what was the clue again? Tsunade said to her final apprentice, those who see all clear from above, see none from hole in the depths. Tenten glanced at the map her father had given them. Thinking about the clue, there were marks on it that indicated either a summoning contract or a weapon, and this beach in wave had a summoning contract mark. Tenten informed her sensei, well, Tsunade-sensei, I believe the clue indicates that the contract is in a cave underwater. Tsunade instructed her young apprentice, okay Hinata, check it out with your Bakugan. Bakugan. Hinata shouted as Hinata looked around. She noticed a cave with the Hyuga symbol on the floor, which made her gasp. Hinata informed the blonde medic, hi Tsunade-sensei, there's one right below us. The Sannin stated to her apprentices, okay team, it's time to go swimming. Team Tsunade dove into the water and swam until they came to a cave that was very dark, then they started to surface there. Naruto grumbled, Ba-chan, I can't see anything. Hinata, you're the only one that can see and hear. You need to go and find the contract. Yell if something goes wrong, we'll find some way to help you. Tsunade said to her reserved pupil. Hinata was caught off guard when a chakra barrier appeared as she was approaching the Hyuga clan symbol. Even though Hinata couldn't hear him, Naruto screamed, Hinata-heim, what's going on, as he felt the barrier rise. As she approached, Hinata seized what appeared to be a massive, immaculate scroll. When she opened it, she discovered that her great-grandmother's last name was written on it. Hinata wrote her name next to the last while pricking her finger with her kunai. Hinata shouted out, recalling the hand signals that Naruto-kun and Tsunade-sensei had taught her, summoning jutsu. A falcon of medium size emerged from the smoke. The falcon questioned, who is it that summons the great Falcon clan after 60 years? Bowing in awe, Hinata uttered, I do, O great FF Falcon. The bird questioned, and who are you to summon the Falcon clan? The bashful girl said, Hinata Hyuga, heiress of the Hyuga clan. Wait, you must be Hana's great-granddaughter. How could I have not seen it? You stuttered just like her, the voice in her head said. Hinata said, O great Falcon, may I have your name? Naruto was screaming uncontrollably as they conversed outside the barrier, trying to understand what was happening. My name Shy One is Takanomo. Now young one, who is it that is yelling for you so loudly? She asked Takanomo. As Hinata explained to him, WLITH think he is my BB boyfriend, I don't know yet. Before departing in a cloud of smoke, Takanomo remarked, I see well Hinata, you may go for now, but when you get outside to an open area you must summon me again to take your trial and bring your boyfriend with you. Oh, and try to stutter less. To stop Naruto from yelling, Hinata ran up to him as he was leaving the barrier and gave him a big hug. Hinata-heim, are you okay? What kind of summon did you get? Naruto inquired. Recalling what Takanomo had told her, Hinata informed him, well Naruto-kun, yes, I'm okay, and it was a Falcon summoning contract. Tsunade informed her team, okay team, it's time to leave, I truly detest these gloomy places. Tsunade departed with that team to pay a visit to one of Naruto's old friends. The house of Tazuna. Naruto was astounded to see how much larger Tazuna's house was than when he had visited it previously. An elderly, inebriated man knocked on the door and it opened. Then Naruto shouted to Tazuna, hey you old drunk, I'm back. Day 1. The house wave of Tazuna Inari was discussing his family's activities with the group of young ninja who were seated in the living room. Naruto asked the young boy, so Inari, how have you and your family been? As Inari informed his hero, we've been doing great. Naruto Nissan, Gramps is the new leader of Wave. Tenten said, so Inari, you really look up to Naruto, don't you? Inari replied with a smile at the girl with the bun, of course Naruto Nissan is my hero, I want to be a ninja just like him, he replied. Ah, looks like Naruto has himself a fanboy, Kin laughed. After hearing that, Naruto and Inari both chuckled at the joke. Hinata said to the young boy, well, you know Inari, maybe Naruto-kun could help you be a ninja. That would be awesome, exclaimed Inari, posing in a thumbs up. All of the girls yawned and pinched Inari's cheeks when they saw his pose. Shizune and Tsunami were discussing something else in another area of the house. Shizune asked the young woman, so Tsunami, how has life been since Naruto left? Tsunami informed the medic, good, dad is the new leader of Wave, we've got a lot more traffic, even ninja. Ninja? Do you have a supply store for them? We could use some new clothes? The doctor asked. Yay, it's a real nice one too, sells weapons and clothes, an old friend of Dad's runs it, Tsunami replied. Shizune's eye glowed and she had an idea. You know Naruto could use some new clothes, and you could help if you want, Shizune replied. Tsunami chuckled and said, you know that is a very good idea. The two young ladies then began discussing a variety of topics, including shopping. Tazuna and Tsunade were conversing in Tazuna's private workshop. Tsunade said to Wave's leader, Tazuna-san, I have an offer to make Wave stronger you can't refuse. Tazuna questioned the former Hokage, and what may this offer be? Tsunade-san. I want to restart a hidden ninja village here in Wave. I will give you all the money you need to start building it. It will take a while to gather other ninja, but in the end Wave will be better. Tsunade made the offer. Well, it is an interesting offer, but what do you mean by restart? Tazuna responded. Tsunade only said, Hidden Whirlpool Village, before heading out to assemble her team. Wave-wise clearing, okay everyone, today we start your training. This week we will be working on our summoning contracts, and on your free time you will be learning more about your partners, Tsunade stated to the group. Now we just need to decide the order we sign them, Shizune replied. Hinata said, I have an idea. Tsunade-sensei. Tsunade gestured for the young Hyuga to speak up while glancing at her. Well, how about Toad, Slug, Turtle, Falcon, Monkey, and Tiger, starting from the ones we know the most, suggested Hinata. Tsunade told her apprentice, great idea Hinata, and without stuttering, you're doing better. As Naruto picked up Hinata and spun her around, he exclaimed, that was the best idea ever Hinata-heim. Tsunade began talking again after Naruto set Hinata down. Okay, then first we need to check with our summons now, to make sure it's okay to summon others, Tsunade replied. Naruto shouted, summoning jutsu, along with Hinata and Shizune. Gamakichi began to speak as he emerged from the smoke. He said to Naruto, hey bro, what do you need? Naruto questioned the little toad, hey Kichi, did you ask your dad if I could sign other contracts? Gamakichi informed his partner, Ye-Pop said it was okay, just don't forget about me. Naruto replied to his partner, never could Kichi. A slug approached Shizune and began talking to her. The slug said, Lady Shizune, what is it that I may help you with? Batsuyami and Tsunade-sama would like to know if it's okay for us to sign other summoning contracts? The young physician inquired. Batsuya informed her summoner, Lady Katsuya thought you would ask that, and she is okay with it. Bowing to the slug, Shizune said, thank you Batsuya. Takanomo flew over to Hinata and began to speak, Hinata-sama, I take it that you would also like to sign other contracts. The bird replied, Hi Takanomo-sama, I would also like to know if my T-team could sign your contract, replied Hinata. Yes, you may sign other contracts, we normally only let Hyuga sign ours, but I sense that you consider them family and one may be a Hyuga sooner than later. The falcon replied, staring at Naruto. Hinata bowed to conceal her blush and said, thank you Takanomo, that is all I need. Tsunade made the decision to begin the Toad Trail after observing the falcon puffing home. Okay Naruto, I need you to summon the Toad contract. Just think about the contract and the toad with it will appear, Tsunade said to her student. Naruto used his chakra to focus and perform the jutsu he called out, summoning jutsu, and a medium-sized red toad with arm guards materialized before putting down the contract and walking away. He rolled out his tongue. Before Naruto rolled the scroll up to present to a new toad of his choosing, all of the girls signed it as it was passed around. Okay now everyone, I want you to think of the toads and put about half of your chakra into the summoning jutsu. And Naruto, if you could summon Gamabunta for me, Tsunade stated to her trainees. They all exclaimed, summoning jutsu, before a massive cloud of smoke blocked their view. Gamabunta the boss toad questioned, hey brat, why did you summon me now? Naruto spoke while gazing down from atop Gamabunta. Naruto addressed the toad boss, saying, well, boss toad, we wish to take the toad trial to become real toad summoners. Gamabunta began to speak while grinning at the young boy. It's about time brat, now the toad trial is just the first step to becoming a true toad summoner, but it is the easiest. All we do is share a drink of sake, Gamabunta stated to the group. Tsunade began to droll as she noticed a gleam in her eye. She took out several bottles of sake and gave one to each of her apprentices, saying, now Gamabunta-sama, that is my kind of trial. Tsunade approached a medium-sized bluish-green toad holding a staff while carrying her own bottle. Taking a deep bow, the Sannin said, hello, I'm Tsunade, and you are? Gamagoken bowed to her new summoner and said, my name is Gamagoken and it is nice to meet such a great healer. The young medic asked her toad, a medium-sized green toad with black stripes down its back. I'm Shizune, may I have your name? Gamadoku informed her, my name is Gamadoku Young Healer. Tenten spoke as she approached her black toad partner, who had a huge scroll on her back and silver lines running from each shoulder to her back. Tenten said, hello, my name is Tenten, what's yours? Tenten blushed when Gamaken said, I'm a Gamaken weapon mistress in training. Kin bowed to the pure brown toad and said, hello, I'm Kin, who might you be? She was informed by the toad, I am Gamasaku Young One. Hinata said, hello, my name is Hinata. The pale purple toad said, my name is Gamounban Shy One. Gamabunta began to speak after realizing that everyone had now met him. All right, let's have a drink, he exclaimed. Tenten asked the older woman, Tsunade, is it okay if we drink? We're young. Tsunade said to her young pupil, I say that you should be old enough to drink and old enough to kill. I heard that each person bowed to their partner and drank their sake. Before all of the toads puffed back home, Gamabunta gave Naruto a tanto that resembled his own and said, now that is over, it's time for one last gift to you Naruto. It once belonged to your father, the weapon of toads Yagyu. Tenten jumped on Naruto to get to his new tanto, saying, oh my Kami, Naruto, can I hold your sword? As she blushed as red as Hinata, she realized what she had said just before she leapt off. As Tsunade unpacked the lunch that Tsunami had prepared for them, she said, okay, that's over, let's rest up before we do the slugs. The Ninja Academy of Leaf Village. As they stood behind the academy, the Konohamaru Corps began discussing their ninja future. Konohamaru told his two friends, okay group, we need to find a new sensei to help us grow stronger for our hero. Udon inquired, what about Ebisu? Konohamaru stated, he's okay, but he tries to make everything a shortcut. Well then what about Iruka sensei? He's smart and likes Naruto, Moegi replied. A young girl who was watching them from behind a tree chose to speak up. Why not both? If you learn from both they can cover each other's weak spots, the informant replied. Konohamaru asked the typically snobbish girl, Hanabi, what are you doing spying on us? I'm sorry, I was just looking for someone to hang out with. Father wants me to get out and have real friends like Hinata Nichan, Hanabi replied. In an attempt to determine whether she was lying about wanting friends, the Konohamaru Corps circled her as he leapt off to find a sensei. Konohamaru exclaimed, well, if you're not lying, you can join us. Okay group, let's find us a new sensei. Wave-wise clearing Tsunade took out the slug contract she carried with her and distributed it after saying, okay team, it's time to start on the slugs. When Naruto heard her, he and the girls left the tree they were chatting by, signed the contract, and then returned it to Tsunade. The Sannin said, same as last time team, but with slugs. They all exclaimed, summoning jutsu, with the same results as before. Katsuya asked her summoner, Lady Tsunade, what may I do for you today? Tsunade informed the Slug Queen, I need the Nirvana, the Slug Staff, back because it's time for my new apprentices to take the Slug trial. As she gave Tsunade her staff, Katsuya remarked, okay young ones, the trial for the slugs is simple, you must work as a team and catch your partners. Shizune and her slug, Batsuya, walked over to her teacher and sat down. Shizune told the team, it's okay, it's not as difficult as it sounds. Naruto said, hey, I'm Naruto, what's up, to his companion. The black and orange slug glared at his partner and said, Tamesuya is the name. The green slug with blue spots said to Kin, hello young one, I'm Suzusuya and you are? A pure blue slug began to speak as it slid toward Hinata. Hello shy one, I'm Mizusuya the water slug. Hinata bowed to her partner and said, my name is Hinata. Tenten introduced herself as she approached her slug partner. Hello, my name is Tenten, who might you be? The green slug said, I am Tensuya young one. As the four slugs puffed off to their hiding places, Katsuya declared, okay young ones, it is time for your trial. Tenten questioned, so who is going to lead the team? Naruto put his arm around Hinata and remarked, I think Hinata should, she does have experience on a tracking team. Hinata spoke while holding Naruto's hand to prevent her from fainting. Thank you Naruto-kun, I would love to. Hinata led the group to the water and began using her Bakugan to scan the area. Hinata remarked, Mizusuya should be around here near the water. They all began searching for the water slug while walking on the water until Hinata called out, look over there, the water, it's moving. Hinata sprinted to the water and dove in to capture the slug. The slug was caught by Hinata, who shouted, I have you now Mizusuya. Before departing, Mizusuya remarked, good job, Lady Hinata, I'll wait for you to return with Lady Tsunade. Naruto ran into the forest and yelled, "Hey girls over here in the forest, I think I smell Tamesuya over there." Little balls of slime began to hit them from all directions before any of them could close the distance to Naruto. Hinata screamed, "Naruto-kun, where are you? Help." The slime abruptly stopped, and Naruto emerged from the forest, grappling with Tamesuya. Then Naruto shouted, "I got you now." As she returned to the group, Tamesuya remarked cynically, "Well, I've seen better, but you'll do for now." "Find her partner," Kin said. Up next, Suzusuya. It was quiet as they walked through the forest until a distant bell rang out. "She's over there," chanted Kin as he leapt away. Hinata questioned her, "How do you know where she is?" As she set out to locate her slug, Kin remarked, "When we first came in, I put tripwire up to detect any intruders with bells on the end." It didn't take the group long to discover that Suzusuya had been caught by the tripwire before heading out to find the others. Suzusuya remarked, "So you caught me, good job on that trap. It's hard to catch a slug with wire." Hinata said, "Last one's all yours, Tenten-chan." Tenten asked her team, searching for any indication of the slug. "Okay Hinata, can you see anything? And Naruto, can you smell anything?" Naruto remarked, "All I smell is the slime from Suzusuya." As she turned to head to the forest's edge, Hinata said to her team, "Wait, I think I see something moving on the edge of the forest." When the team reached the forest's edge, they saw nothing until Tenten threw a kunai and struck a tree. Tenten said, Now don't try to get away, Tensuya." Tensuya stopped hiding among the leaves after realizing she had been apprehended before returning to Tsunade with the group. Tensuya remarked, "Good job, young one, not many can see past my color." When the team returned to the clearing, they discovered their two senseis conversing alone. Tsunade informed her team, "We're happy you're back and that you did well in the trial." Everyone in the group except Naruto groaned when Shizune said, "Okay, it's time to return to Tazuna's house and rest. You've been through a lot today, and you do it all over again tomorrow." The house of Tazuna. Naruto opened his letter from Sakura and began reading it while he was by himself in his room. To Naruto-kun, Naruto thought, "Oh my god, she's trying to kiss me now." "No, I'm not attempting to make out with you. First, I sincerely apologize for any suffering I may have caused you over the years. I was initially upset that Sasuke had been harmed when you returned, but then I started to reflect it wasn't the Uchiha. It was you who always tried to cheer me up and was always there to help. I decided that instead of being a fangirl, I wanted to be a kunoichi that you would be proud of. I'll see you soon, Naruto-kun, and I'm heading out to find Kakashi-sensei." Sakura. Naruto thought to himself, "So she wants to change for me?" Naruto remarked, "Well, she has a long way to go." He decided to write his own letter to her after reading hers, then seal it and send it to her later. Day 2. The clearing wave. Shizune addressed the group, saying, "Okay team, it's time to start on our next summon the turtle." Naruto handed Tenten the turtle contract. After extracting it, Naruto grinned and remarked, "Gai-san gave it to you, so I think you should be the first one to summon it." Tenten. Although Hinata was glaring at her, Tenten hugged Naruto-kun and said, "Thank you, Naruto-kun, that is so sweet of you." Tenten unrolled the contract, signed it first, and then distributed it among the others. Tsunade said to the blonde, "Naruto, if you would try to summon the boss for us." "Summoning jutsu!" exclaimed Naruto. A huge blue-green turtle with a huge spiky shell yelled, "Who dares summon the king of turtles, Tokakame?" Tenten bowed and began to talk. "We did, oh great turtle king, Tokakame. I am a student of Maida Guy," Tenten replied. "So Guy has de-iced to pass down the contract, and let me guess you wish to take the trial?" Tokakame responded. Tenten said, "Hi Tokakame-sama." The enormous turtle said to them, "Very well, summon your partners." "Summoning jutsu!" shouted the team. They were surrounded by 5 turtles, the first of which had a green shell with tiny spikes on it. She introduced herself to Tenten as Kamekasui, the princess of the turtles. "I'm Tenten Kamakasui." Tenten introduced herself to her girlfriend. Naruto began approaching a dark red turtle with spikes on its tail. He said, "Hey, I'm Naruto, what's your name?" Without even glancing at Naruto, he said, "Yo, I'm Tamakame." A smooth-shelled blue turtle ran over to Shizune and spoke. She said quickly, "Hey, I'm Kamahayai." Shizune responded, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Kamahayai." Tsunade's turtle had enormous legs and a rough shell. It was pure brown. In a gruff voice, he introduced himself as Kamake. Tsunade said, "Nice to meet you, Kamake." She said to the lavender turtle with spikes on its back, Hello, I'm H. Hinata." As the female turtle introduced herself, "I'm Kamonbean, nice to meet you." Kin heard a black turtle say, "Kamapin is the name." She said, "Hello, my name is Kin." Tokakame spoke while glancing down at the group. Now for your trial you must go 3 minutes against your partner without being hurt or hurting them, he stated. After Tsunade and Shizune successfully completed their trials, Kin was next. Kin began the trial by tossing some senbon, but she threw them far enough away to strike some trees rather than Kamapin. The turtle mockingly said, "You know you're not supposed to hit me, right? That's why I missed, or haven't you noticed that you're not moving anymore?" Kin replied. Everyone saw the bells on Kin's senbon at that moment. "That noise you hear is keeping you there and it won't stop until I want it to stop," Kin stated to the turtle. Kamapin said, "Okay Kin, you win. I can't get out of this trap." Kamienbin and Hinata faced off next, thinking the turtle couldn't get to her up there. Hinata began by leaping into a tree. Shell spike jutsu was the last thing she heard. Bakugan Hinata looked around and noticed a small spike behind her. Hinata saw more approaching from all sides and ducked to the right. She made the decision to attempt a new jutsu that Neji had taught her. At that point Hinata shouted, "Kaden!" establishing the Hyuga clan's strongest defense. Each spike dropped to the ground as a result. As Hinata's confidence grew with her new move, the turtle remarked, "A Hyuga ha, and one that can use their ultimate defense, you pass." Before entering his own battle, Naruto ran up to her, picked her up, and spun her around. Naruto shouted, "You and me now, Tamikame." According to the turtle, "Yay whatever." Naruto screamed, "Shadow clone jutsu," and created 100 clones. When Tamikame saw this, he began to swing his tail and pop shadow clones until there were just 10 left. Tamikame shouted, "Those aren't so tough, is that all you got?" "You wish," exclaimed Naruto as he leapt into the trees. As he pounded the ground with his tail, shaking the trees in the ground, Tamikame remarked, "So what now, you running away? It won't work." Naruto lost his footing due to the tree's movement and had to use his remaining shadow clones to break his fall. His voice called out again, "Shadow clone jutsu." Naruto gave his clones the order, "Okay guys, try to hold him down, we have less than a minute left, we can do this." Naruto narrowly won his trial as a result. "Whoa, that was close," Naruto sighed. "Saving the best for last, I see." Kamakasui said those words. Tenten said, "You know it," as she opened a bow staff she owned. Kamekasui was about to strike Tenten with her tail swing when her bow staff intervened. Kamekasui tried a different strategy and used her shell spike jutsu, but Tenten spun her bow staff and knocked her to the side. This continued until Tokukame intervened to stop the two. Before heading home with the other turtles, Tokukame handed Tenten the turtle's shield, which had spikes around the edges. "Enough, you all pass. And you girl, I haven't seen someone hold off a member of the turtle clan in a long time. I want you to have this, the shield of the turtles Girabanen." Naruto threw his arms around her and exclaimed, "Tenten, that is so cool, what an awesome shield." Tenten blushed and remarked, "Well, it's not as cool as your now sword, Naruto-kun." The Sand Village. The Jonin leaders were meeting back in the Sand Village. "So we have all heard the rumors that Tsunade has left the Leaf, and with her Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the only person to ever beat Gaara." Baki, the head Jonin, replied. One of the council members questioned, "What are we going to do? We're in an alliance with the Leaf." Baki looked around and began to speak, but the door flew in when the sand struck it. "Me and my team are going to go meet them and attempt to get them to join the hidden Sand Village," a monotone voice said. A young man with war paint on his face said, "Now Gaara, wait until they have made their decision." "Kankuro, shut up, we will not let them stay out in the open to be hunted by everyone," a young woman with blonde hair said. "Tamari, you're right. The hidden sand will attempt to gain Tsunade's team's favor. Gaara, your team is to meet them once we know where they're staying, and if you must leave a liaison with them." Baki stated their next task. Sound Village. At the moment, Kabuto was unwilling to go and inform Orochimaru that Tsunade and the Kyubi brat had left the secret Leaf Village. "Lord Orochimaru, I have some good and bad news." Orochimaru shouted at his right-hand ninja, "Kabuto, get out with it, what's the bad news?" Kabuto informed his leader that Tsunade, the Kyubi brat, and the Hyuga heiress had left the Leaf Village. Sanin, the snake, inquired, "And the good news? Your new body will be done just in time for you to switch, and it will be better than any other," Kabuto stated to his teacher. Orochimaru said to his top medic, "Good, about Tsunade, I want you to send a team to kill her and her group, but bring me the bodies." He then cackled evilly. The sound of "Ku-ku-ku-ku-ku-ku" reverberated throughout the secret Sound Village. Mist Village. The Mizukage of Mist, Terumi Mei, was a very contented woman. She first learns that the Leaf Village lost theirs, and then she learns that a Hyuga and a Sanin Tsunade were brought with it. She called out to her bodyguard, "Ow, where are you? Get your lazy ass in here." He asked his leader, "Hi Mizukage-sama, what is it that you need?" Mei handed him a scroll bearing her seal and said, "I want you to go and find where Tsunade and her team are staying and leave her this note to join the Mist Village." "And why are you sending me on such a boring mission?" Ao inquired. She spoke while staring at him as if she were about to murder him before kicking him out of her window. She explained, "Because you annoy me." Wave-wise clearing, "Okay team, it's time to get the last of the contracts done for the day," Tsunade responded. Hinata pulled out her scroll and began distributing the Falcon summoning contract until everyone had signed it. Tsunade informed her apprentice, "This time, Naruto, you can relax, I'll call the boss." They all shouted, summoning jutsu, simultaneously, calling forth 6 falcons. The largest had a scar on its left wing and was entirely brown with white tips. The giant falcon questioned, "Who summons the great falcon clan, and its leader Takasura?" Hinata addressed the enormous falcon, saying, "We do great Takasura. I am Hinata Hyuga, heiress of the Hyuga clan, and this is my team." "Ah yes, Takanomo told me about you and your group. I see you are ready to take your trial then?" replied Takasura. Hinata started talking as she walked over to Takanomo. Hinata said to her partner, "Hello Takanomo, what is the trial that we must pass?" "Hinata-sama, the trial for the Falcon summons test your senses. We blindfold you and you must dodge an attack, and you are first," the bird stated. Takanomo soared in the air until he dove straight down at her, while Hinata settled into the gentle fist style after putting on the blindfold. Hinata was able to jump to the side and avoid Takanomo by sensing a change in the air currents just before he struck her because she had been trained as a tracker by Kurenai. Takanomo bowed to Hinata and remarked, "Good job Hinata-sama, just like your great-grandmother before you. You passed without using your Bakugan." Next in line were Tsunade and Shizune, who easily defeated the experienced ninjas in their trials. Kin came up next. Approaching her partner, she said to her, "Hello, my name is Kin." She gave the blindfold to the child after saying, "Hello young one, I'm Takate." Kin entered the center of the clearing and stood motionless, anticipating the assault. It then approached more quickly than could be seen, but Kin managed to avoid it, albeit only by a single inch. Takate asked the X-Sound ninja, "Good job, but how did you know when to dodge my attack?" The pure black falcon with the green stripe down his back was told by Kin, "Easy, I heard you coming. I've been trained to detect sound all around me." Tenten and her companion, a red-beaked, tan falcon, came next. The falcon informed her, "My name is Takatama, and it appears we're up next." Tenten put on the blindfold and said, "Hello, Takatama, my name is Tenten." Takatama chose to approach their targets indirectly, in contrast to the other falcons who dove down on them in the hopes that one would strike her. He threw his feathers at her. However, she heard them approaching like kunai and avoided each one, being the weapon mistress that she was. Takatama told Tenten, "I think the more straightforward approach might have worked better here. Well done, young one." Naruto questioned his partner, a silver falcon with black tips on his feathers, saving the best for last, "I'm Naruto and you are?" The falcon said, "Hello young one, my name is Takafusenmei, are you ready?" When Takafusenmei dove down to attack Naruto, he was flying so high that no one could see him, but Naruto managed to dodge the blow just inches from being struck. Takafusenmei questioned, "How did you do that? No one can hear or see me when I dive." Naruto grinned broadly and said, "Easy, buddy, I can smell you from a mile away." Takasura chose to complete the trail after noticing that everyone had finished. Takasura handed her a pair of nearly elbow-length silver gauntlets with 2 claws on each and a black plate on the back of the hands. "Good job everyone. You all passed your trials, but you young Hyuga, I haven't seen someone on your level since your great-grandmother, and for that I give you the gauntlets of the Falcon's air guys." Before the Falcons departed to return home, Hinata bowed and said, "Thank you, O great Takasura." The Tower of Hokage, the council, hadn't bothered Jiraiya all day, and he was enjoying his day, and he used a toad summons to send Tsunade a new mission. He was meeting with 6 genin boys, as Jiraiya put it. "Boys, I have one question for you. Why are you ninja?" All 6 boys responded to the question at once without even considering it, "To protect our friends and family." "Good, that's what I thought," Jiraiya told the group, "and now it's time for you all to start training on your jobs as ninjas. Kiba, you are a tracker. You're going to be taught by your sister and an Inuzuka hunter ninja after your team's practice." Kiba cursed having to work with his sister in his mind as he said, "Hi Jiraiya-sama." Gazing at Lee Jiraiya, he resumed his speech. "Lee, you are a taijutsu expert. You're going to be working with a different jonin each week to learn and master new styles." "Thank you Jiraiya-sama. Now my flames of youth will grow even larger," Lee yelled. Shikamaru, you are one of the best strategists of your generation. You will be working with Enbu Code and Strategy Division teachers. Troublesome, was Shikamaru's only comment. Next was Choji. Choji, you are a defensive person that can fight larger enemies. I'm giving you Enbu board to help train you in defensive jutsu. Choji said, Hi Jiraiya-sama. Now Shino and Neji, you two are going to be learning under me in Ibiki to work spy networks and interrogation. Jiraiya stated to the two boys. Thank you Jiraiya-sama. Neji bowed. Shino uttered, Hi Hokage-sama. Day 3. The house of Tazuna. Naruto entered the girl's room and found Kin sitting by herself on the bed. Sobbing, Naruto said to her, Hey Kin, what's wrong? Are you okay? Kin spoke while dabbing at her eyes to hide her tears from Naruto. It's nothing Naruto, I'm fine, just got worked up over nothing, she lied. The blonde ninja informed her, I know something's wrong, Kin, you can tell me. Kin broke down in tears as she said, Well, you see Naruto, I don't think I belong with your group. I worked for Orochimaru, he wanted to kill you all and I helped. Naruto approached her, sat beside her, and allowed her to rest her head on his shoulder. Naruto rubbed her back and remarked, Kin, you've changed. You said yourself that you're no longer loyal to Orochimaru. Kin pushed herself away from Naruto and remarked, Yeah, but that doesn't change that I did those things to you or your friends. Naruto got up to give her a hug and said, Then if you want us to believe that you've changed, show us that you train hard and when the time comes you can repay us for helping you. Kin grinned and gave Naruto a hug in return. Thanks Naruto-kun. Wave-wise clearing as she distributed the monkey contract, Tsunade told her team, Okay everyone, another day, another summons. Today we do the monkey and tiger summons. Before signing the clan contract, Tsunade stated, To begin, I must call forth the Monkey King Enma. The current contract we have is a Sarutobi only contract, so we need him to get the full contract. With a furious expression on his face, Tsunade called out, Summoning Jutsu. This caused the Monkey King to materialize. Enma spoke as she looked at Tsunade. Enma questioned his summoner, Why have I been summoned, and by you of all people, princess? Sorry King Enma the First would just like to ask for you to let us sign the monkey contract, and the only way to talk to you would be to summon you. My deepest apologies Enma-sama. Tsunade gave a bow. Enma was shocked to see Tsunade and her apprentice among the group, along with Naruto Uzumaki, the Hyuga clan's heiress, and two unknown girls. The Monkey King handed the monkey contract to Tsunade and said, I will let you sign it, princess, but only if you give it to Asuma and Konohamaru and have them both sign it. As she distributed the contract for her team to sign, Tsunade said, Of course Enma-sama, and thank you very much, would you also sit over the trial of the monkey summons for us? Summoning Jutsu. They all exclaimed as they signed the agreement. The Monkey King Enma addressed the group, saying, Okay everyone, the trial for the monkey summons is a test of your taijutsu skills. Chakra use is okay, but no gen or ninjutsu. Tenten bowed to the medium-sized black monkey with a scroll on its back. As she approached her summon she addressed the monkey, saying, Hello there, my name is Tenten. The monkey said, Hello, I'm Sarubuki, the monkey craftsman. Tenten prepared for battle by adopting the taijutsu stance that Guy had taught her. They only exchanged light blows in the beginning of the fight, but Sarubuki began to jump around and use her tail to surprise her, but instead of capturing Tenten, she grabbed the monkey's tail and threw it into a tree with her own momentum. Sarubuki informed Tenten, Now I didn't see that one coming, you pass young weapon mistress in training. What do you expect, be someone trained by the Leaf's green beast, Tenten replied. A medium-sized tan monkey with a headband covering his eyes approached Kin and began to speak. He looked at Kin and said, Hello, my name is Sarumimi the blind monkey. Kin said to the monkey, My name is Kin, and if I may ask, how did you know where I was if you're blind? Sarumimi informed her, I may not see, but I can hear everything around me. Kin followed suit after witnessing the monkey assume a fighting stance. Kin initiated the fight after realizing the monkey would not attack first, but Sarumimi always ducked her blows when she was about to strike him. When Sarumimi finally attacked, he was too quick for her to see and hit her multiple times before she could react. She then figured out what to do. As a former sound ninja, she learned that if she couldn't see him, she would hear him approaching. She heard everything around her, including Sarumimi running at her full speed, so she closed her eyes and let him pass her, allowing him to crash into the tree behind Kin. I learned that move when the shadow user had me hit the wall behind me, knocking me out, Kin stated to everyone. Sarumimi got up after colliding with the tree and bowed to Kin. Sarumimi said, Whoa, why is everything spinning? To nobody. Hinata bowed as she approached her partner. Hinata said to her partner, Hello there, my name is Hinata, and you may be? The pale monkey, whose tail was as long as her height, bowed and said, "My name is Saranawa." The altercation began when Saranawa knocked Hinata off balance with her tail so she could strike her, that is, until Hinata managed to seize the tail and strike a chakra point at its base, rendering it ineffective, which also caused Saranawa to lose his equilibrium and hit the ground head first. Saranawa asked Hinata to open his chakra point so he could stand up, saying, "Good job Hinata, but could you help me up here?" Shizune also defeated her partner, a mobile brown monkey with a pole on its back as a weapon, while Tsunade used her super strength to defeat a large black monkey wearing a tight green kimono. Naruto said to his partner, "Well, then it's you and me, name's Naruto." "Are you ready, little one?" said the big black monkey wearing a black and silver gi. "My name is Sarueki." Until the larger monkey began to tire out, Naruto was losing the battle without his clones. After that, he was able to attack, and Naruto managed to get behind him and win by sweeping his legs out from under him. "Boy, you pass, but you need a lot of work. Your stamina won't save you every time," Sarueki stated to him. Before departing with the other monkeys, Enma remarked, "You all pass, but the Monkey Clan weapon belongs only to the Sarutobi clan." "Good job everyone, but this just shows us that we all need more training on our taijutsu," Tsunade stated to her teammates. Cloud Village, the fourth Raikage, was pondering the news he had just heard while seated behind his desk. The Hokage of the Leaf, Tsunade, simply got up and walked away, taking their demon container along with the Hyuga heiress. The group he summoned then arrived, led by Ni Yugito, one of their own demon containers. Ni questioned her leader, "You called for me and my team, Raikage-sama?" The Raikage spoke while glancing at the container of the two-tailed demon cat. "Yes, I want you and your team to be ready to leave at a moment's notice for a special mission," he replied. "What mission is so special that we need to be ready to leave at a moment's notice?" Ni inquired. "You and your team are to go find the Sanin Tsunade and her team and either get them to join Cloud or at least get us an alliance with them," the Raikage replied. Ni bowed and departed with her team after saying, "Hi Raikage-sama, we will be ready when the time comes." Rock Village, a group of hunter ninja were waiting for their mission in the Tsuchikage's office. The Tsuchikage instructed his personal bodyguard, Akatsuchi, "I want you and your team to find and bring in Tsunade Senju and her teammates." Akatsuchi informed him, "Hi Tsuchikage-sama, I will bring her back." Village of Waterfall. The new waterfall leader, Shibuki, stood there observing his council. "First order of business is what we are going to do about Tsunade Senju and more importantly Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the hero of Waterfall, leaving their village." Shibuki addressed the council. One of the ninja council's Jonin stated, "I propose that we send Fu and her group to bring them into the village." One of the other ninja on the council asked, "Why would we let our weapon go out of the village to be caught by the Akatsuki just for some demon brat?" After saying that, Shibuki had already made a water sword and severed the man's head before he could blink. "Does anyone else want to insult one of my ninja or our hero?" "No good. Then get me Fu and her team to send her to find them," Shibuki replied. Wave-wise clearing Tsunade informed her team, "Well, everyone, I must say that I think we saved the best summons for last." Naruto said, "Wait Tsunade-sama, what about the dog summons?" "Well Naruto, the scroll Kakashi gave you was not the full contract, just a way to get the full one. You will have to work on it tomorrow in your free time," Shizune stated to him. Naruto began to pout because he was upset that he couldn't yet get the full dog contract, causing every girl to swoon over him and compliment him on his cuteness. Tsunade waited another 3 minutes until she believed Naruto had fainted. When she pulled the girls away from him, she discovered that he was simply too stunned by all of the girls glomping him to pass out. "Now that you all are done feeling Naruto up, I think it's time to sign the contract. Naruto, you are going to be the first to sign, and if you can tell me whose name is right before yours," Tsunade stated to him. Naruto yelled out as he signed the contract, looking to see who had done so before him. Naruto cried out, "What, my mom was the holder of the tiger contract?" Tsunade handed the scroll around and said, "Yes, Naruto, the tiger is the summon animal of the Uzumaki clan." Naruto attempted to call the boss before he had even waited for everyone to sign the contract. Summoning Jutsu. A massive orange and black tiger with a scar over its right eye emerged from the smoke. The powerful tigress yelled, "Who dares summon Toritatsujin, queen of the tigers?" Naruto informed the tiger queen, "I do Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, son of Uzumaki Kushina and Minato Namikaze." Toritatsujin began questioning why the young boy hadn't signed the contract sooner. After he looked at him critically, "It's about time you signed this contract, boy. What took you so long?" the queen responded. "I'm deeply sorry Toritatsujin-sama, I didn't even know that there was a tiger summon, but if it's okay with you, me and my team would like to take the trial of the tigers, Naruto replied. As your mother's personal summon, it would be our honor for you and your team to take the trial, Naruto-kun. She responded. The trial for the tiger summons is a fight with weapons, nothing else. Now summon your partners. Tenten cracked a grin. They shouted, summoning jutsu. Together a number of medium-sized tigers appeared. The first approached Tsunade and was a gray-striped black tiger. The tiger said, hello, my name is Torikobushi. She said to the tiger, hello there, my name is Tsunade. An orange tigress with black paws and white stripes approached Shizune. The tigress said, hello, my name is Torahai, and who may you be? The medic said to her partner, my name is Shizune, nice to meet you. The trial for Tsunade and Shizune went well. Shizune used her senbon to restrain the tigers, while Tsunade used Nirvana. Hinata introduced herself as she approached her partner. She said to her partner, hello, my name is Hinata. The pure orange tiger introduced herself to her as, hello shy one, my name is Torane, the fastest of the tigers. As Hinata approached the center of the clearing, she assumed her stance and called air guys to her arms using the scroll in her new summoning tattoo, which featured the Hyuga clan's emblem with falcon wings underneath, using the arm guards to block Torhane's blows. Hinata waited until the tiger was vulnerable before slashing out with her claws to attack him, but she stopped just short of piercing his throat. Good job Hinata-san, you were very good with that weapon of yours, Torane replied. Hinata said to her partner, thank you very much, they just feel natural to use with my gentle fist style. Kin and her partner came next. Kin said to her partner, hello there, my name is Kin, what is your name? An orange tiger with black stripes on his legs and tail walked to the middle of the clearing and said, my name is Tararanpu, young one. He began tossing her senbon Kin at Tararanpu after removing them, but he leapt higher than some of the trees and gazed down at her spinning. Kin pulled out two kunai to use in claw combat while rolling to the side. When Tararanpu's claws approached her face, Kin jumped back, blocking his paws and attempting to slash at him herself. Kin pulled out 6 shuriken and threw them at the tiger because she knew the fight had to end quickly. However, she missed everyone until the explosive notes on them triggered. Tararanpu was blown into the clearing. You may not know much about close combat, but you wield your senbon like a pro, the tiger stated. She introduced herself to her partner, a black tigress with long claws and silver stripes, saying, hello, my name is Tenten, and I'm a weapon mistress in training. The tigress laughed as she looked at Tenten. After her remark, the tigress said, well, then, young weapon mistress, my name is Torashapu. Tenten prepared by bringing out a training katana and girabanan. However, Torashapu used her razor-sharp claws to break Tenten's katana before she could get more than a few swings in. Since the tigress was attacking her and she didn't have time to unseal another weapon, she began slashing with her shield spike. Then she had a brilliant idea and threw her shield as hard as she could, just missing the tigress' tail. Torashapu sighed and remarked, whoa, you really are a weapon mistress, aren't you? If that had been 2 inches lower, I would have been tailless. Naruto approached his partner and introduced himself. He said, hello, I'm Naruto. Before getting up on his hind legs, the white tiger with black stripes said, my name is Toriken young Uzumaki. In a panic, Naruto exclaimed, wait, how can you stand up? None of the others could. Toriken approached Naruto and began speaking. He then got in Naruto's face and grinned, saying, we all can stand, but this is just a trial, so they thought they didn't need to test your friends. I'm not just going to test you, I'm going to push you until you break, for I am the son of Toratatsujin and prince of the tigers. Unsealing Yagayu, Naruto declared, well, I won't hold back either. He assumed a fighting stance without having practiced his weapon. Toriken followed suit and unlocked his own weapon, which he named a swallow and consisted of 2 curved blades that were reversed on opposite ends of a pole that was 1.5 feet long. While Toriken used his swallow to move with unseen grace, Naruto spent the majority of the battle on the defensive with his new tanto before Naruto managed to divert his attention with a few kunai and sneak beneath his weapon to slash at his chest. That is, with a kunai in one hand, Naruto began to attack, using Yagayu to stab and slash at Toriken while the kunai held or blocked his swallow. This continued until the cuts they both had prevented them from continuing. Good job young Uzumaki, you did extremely well. Just like your mother, she was one of the only Uzumaki to ever stand against a tiger going all out, but that is expected of the son of Uzumaki Kushina, and for that you shall receive the weapon of the tiger's Ginner. Toratatsujin said as he gave Naruto his swallow with a handle that was both black and orange. It had a small black blade on one end that was reversed and a curved silver blade on the other end that resembled a swallow's wing. Naruto grinned as he looked at Ginner and gave it a few test swings just before she puffed away with the other tigers. Naruto bowed and said, "Thank you Toritatsujin-sama." Hinata and Tenten ran up to him, and Hinata kissed him on the lips, causing them both to faint with a full body flush. Mind of Naruto in his mind, Naruto woke up in a state of confusion asking the fox, "Hey Q, what am I doing here now?" Naruto shouted. However, it was a very young woman, not a giant fox, who approached him, who wore a red kimono with a black fox on it and was Shizune's height. Her long red hair covered her DD-sized breasts in the front and fell down to her perfectly round ass in the back. "You're here because you fainted after your girlfriend kissed you, and see something you like, Naruto-kun?" Q responded. Naruto spoke while picking his jaw up off the floor. Naruto exclaimed in shock, "Wow, and wow, why do you look like that, Q?" "Well Naruto, you see, this is how I always look. I only use my fox form when I fight other demons or powerful ninja, but anyway, it seems your Tsunade is waiting for you to wake up, so you better get going," Q replied. Naruto ran up to embrace the fox and said, "Okay Q, thanks, I'll talk to you later." The girls' room. Tenten began her conversation with Hinata and Kin by saying, "We all know why we're here today, right? To talk about what we want from Naruto-kun." "No, I know that you have first dibs on him, Hinata-chan, but I want to have my chance as well. Naruto-kun has shown that his heart is big enough for more than one girl, and he can be really nice and caring," Tenten replied while looking at Hinata. Getting Tenten to jump on her and thank her, Hinata said, "I can tell that both of you may like Naruto-kun, but he did give me say on who joins and who doesn't. Tenten-chan, I can tell that you mean well, and if Naruto-kun returns your feeling, I will be glad to have you." Kin began to speak as he waited for them to separate. "I know you both have very little to go by for me. I know I used to be a sound ninja and I haven't given you a lot to prove myself, but I would like a chance to get to know Naruto better," Kin stated to them. The girl jumped on Hinata and Tenten after Hinata told her, "Well Kin, you're right, we don't have much to go by for you, but you've been nice so far, so just keep yourself in line and train harder and you can try for Naruto-kun." Day 4 Wave-wise clearing. Morning group. Today starts our real training. To start off, all of us are going to run 20 laps around the clearing. Then 100 push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups, and that will be our physical training for the day, but first we need to stretch, Tsunade stated to her teammates. Only Naruto, Tsunade, and Shizune were able to stand upright without getting out of breath after they had stretched and begun running and performing their exercises until they were finished. Tenten said, "Tsunade-sensei, why did you and Shizune-san run too?" Tsunade Shizune spoke in response. "Well Tenten, you see, no matter how good you are, you can always be better," she replied. Tsunade handed them all leaves and said, "Now team, it's time to do some chakra control exercises. We're going to start with the leaf floating exercise and then move on to tree walking." Hinata had a question. After taking the leaf, she informed the medic, "Tsunade-sensei, I've already mastered this exercise." "I know that Hinata, but doing this will help increase your chakra reserves, which everyone here needs, even Naruto," Tsunade stated to her. Naruto was still struggling to master the exercise during Tsunade and Hinata's conversation, but after 10 minutes of trying, he managed to get it to float at his head level. When he asked Hinata for assistance, he said to her, "Hey Hinata-hime, can you help me out over here?" "Sure Naruto-kun, first you need to lower your chakra output until it's about 3 inches above your hand, and you need to hold it there for an hour until you have fully mastered this exercise," Hinata stated to him. Naruto managed to bring the leaf down to 3 inches by the end of the exercise, but he could only keep it there for 10 minutes. Tenten and Kin, however, managed to keep it that low for 30 minutes. Tenten asked her sensei, "Hey Tsunade-sensei, what are we going to do when we're on the road traveling?" "Well, when we go clothes shopping later today before we leave tomorrow, we're going to get some weights for all of you to wear for strength. Now for chakra control, we're going to be doing the leaf floating exercise while walking or any other one we may find," Tsunade stated to her teammates. "The rest of this morning we're going to be working on the academy work, mastering the taijutsu style, and the basic 3. So Naruto, I want you to send a group of clones over there to start reading any books, and I'll send one to make sure you understand it all," Tsunade was speaking to her colleagues. Hinata and Tenten had already mastered the taijutsu style from the rigorous training that either Hiashi or Guy had put them through, so they spent the remainder of the morning learning the fundamentals of the Leaf Village Academy. While Naruto didn't master any of it, he did learn everything from the books with Tsunade's assistance while learning the fundamentals of the style. Kin, on the other hand, had the fundamentals down in roughly half of the kata. The jutsu part went much more smoothly. Tenten could now perform the clone and replacement jutsu sealless, and Kin had all three down sealless since the Sound Village shared the same jutsu. Hinata was already proficient in all three of the basic jutsu sealless. Finally, while performing replacement sealless, Naruto managed to create a clone. Everyone was instructed in the use of shadow clone jutsu by Tsunade. During lunch the girls helped even though they could only make one at most. When they first began their medical training, the shadow clones were very helpful. Tsunade made them read the foundational books to bring their knowledge up to speed with Hinata's assistance to Naruto. Following lunch, they all called in their slug partners to practice teamwork, summoning jutsu. In an attempt to learn more about one another, they all sat in a circle starting with the slugs. Well, my name is Batsuya. I love poisons and I'm a messenger slug. I'm normally calm and laid back, but when battle comes I use that calmness to sneak up on my enemies to poison them and take them out. Batsuya spoke with a laid-back voice. Naruto's partner came next with a big smile on its face. The slug said to the team, "Hey team, I'm Tamesuya. I love eating and hanging out with my friends, and I'll do anything I can to protect my friends and team." "Hello, my name is Mizusuya. I love the water and swimming in it. I like to think of myself as flowing as water itself," said Hinata's spouse. "Well, I'm Suzusuya. I hate people who think power is the only thing that matters, and want to get revenge no matter what," the partner of Kin stated to the group. Tensuya, Tenten's partner, came next. "My name is Tensuya. I love seeing the looks on a ninja's face when my acid melts their weapons, but don't get me wrong, I also love weapons," the slug replied. Personal training to master the lessons learned today took up the remainder of the training session. All of them had mastered the academy style and the three jutsu by the end. However, Naruto used his shadow clones for another purpose. He called forth the dogs using the scroll that Kakashi gave him. Naruto called forth the ninja dog Falcon by smearing his blood on the scroll as the ninja dog said, "Yo Naruto, what can I help you with?" Naruto looked at the little dog and said, "Hey Falcon, I just wanted to check out the scroll Kakashi-sensei gave me. By the way, how do you get the full contract with the dogs?" "Well Naruto, to earn the full contract you must prove that you are loyal to your friends, which you have plenty of time, but you must also have the power to protect them, which you don't have as of yet, for the enemies you face are going to be powerful. Now in Lightning Country there is an old relic that can help you. When you are in Lightning Country summon me again," Falcon stated to Naruto. "Okay, but that was the only scroll I had," Naruto said, his expression bewildered. Falcon said, calling two scrolls to his hand before he left, he said, "Here you go kid, a new summoning scroll and instructions on how to make your own." The group spent the remainder of the afternoon learning the academy's jutsu and style with their Tsunade shadow clone. Tenten also brought along a scroll that taught them about their weapons. By the time they were finished, they all had a rudimentary understanding of their weapons, and even Naruto had mastered the academy jutsu. Takanomo also told Hinata that the Hyuga Elder's selfishness caused the Falcons to go into self-exile and that she needed to overcome her shyness if she wanted to become the new Falcon Master. "Okay group, today is the last day we're going to be here, so it's time to get some new clothes. Then we will have a meeting to discuss what our next move is," Tsunade stated to the group. Holding his Gamma wallet upside down, Naruto questioned, "Tsunade-sensei, how are we going to get new clothes without money?" Shizune handed the group enough cash to overfill their wallets while holding a scroll with twice as much in it for the clothes. "Well, Naruto, you see, Tsunade-sama and I took a large sum of the village money, along with the Senju, Uzumaki, Namikaze, and part of the Hyuga clan accounts, and now all of that money is in a new account that only we have access to," Shizune said. After Hinata filled her new Taka wallet, Tenten filled her new Kame wallet, and Kin filled her plain black wallet. Naruto was able to fill his Gamma wallet. Blade of Shadows. The group was amazed by what they found when they entered the Shadows Blade Ninja supply store. In addition to clothing, there were weapons of all sizes and shapes, as well as basic ninja supplies. Tsunade handed them each a pure black Chunin vest and said, "Now before you all go crazy dressing up Naruto, I have a gift for you. As of right now, you have proven yourselves to me in that you are serious in your training and are now Chunin ninja." After they were finished, Shizune instructed the girls to get themselves new clothes and to take Naruto to find something appropriate for him to wear. The girls were coming in and going out to give Naruto new clothes to try on while he sat in a huge dressing room in a daze. The girls eventually discovered an outfit that not only pleased them but also pleased Naruto after at least his 50th outfit. As he emerged from the dressing room, Naruto was wearing a pair of black fingerless gloves, a long-sleeved fishnet shirt, and a pure black sleeveless shirt underneath his Chunin vest with the Uzumaki spiral on it. In addition, he carried a black cloak similar to his father's, which featured a hood, a silver outline, and orange flames that were burned across the bottom once more, along with the Uzumaki spiral. In addition, the vest and cloak featured inside pockets for covert weapons and a holster for his new swallow. In addition, he had holsters on both his thighs and hips, and he was dressed in black cargo pants with lots of pockets and orange flames on the cuffs. He wore black combat boots with steel plates on the toes in place of the traditional ninja sandals, and an orange belt with a detachable tanto holster around his pants. The girls stood there in their new clothes and exclaimed, "Oh Naruto-kun, you look so cute." Hinata made a daring decision when she chose her new ensemble, hoping Naruto would find it attractive and sexy. Like Naruto, Hinata wore a long fishnet shirt, but she also had a roll of bandages to keep her enormous breasts in check for battle. She wore a lavender trench coat similar to Anko's over her fishnet and a lavender tank top underneath her black chunin vest. Her legs were wrapped like Ino's all the way up to her ass, and she wore a lavender skirt that ran about halfway down her thighs. She also had 2 holsters for medical supplies on her right leg and her left ass cheek. She wore boots that resembled Naruto's as well. Even though her new attire was not as daring as Hinata's, Tenten still hoped Naruto would like it. Tenten was wearing her chunin vest and a black and gold shirt similar to her old one, which had a place on the back to hold her shield. She had changed from wearing loose-fitting pants to tight black pants with a black thong protruding. She also carried a variety of weapons in holsters around her waist. She was also wearing boots that resembled those of Hinata and Naruto. Kin was wearing her vest over a short-sleeved shirt that was forest green in color, along with camouflage pants that had a lot of pockets and 2 kunai and shuriken holsters, as well as a senbon holster on her left leg like the others. She wore boots, but they were forest green. Additionally, she wore a brand new chain-side slug around her body and across her shoulder. During training and missions, they all wore Anbu body armor. Tsunade and Shizune didn't want to buy new clothes just yet, so they already had their clothes. However, they were holding 7 black Anbu masks. Tsunade gave one to each of them. The mask resembled leaf Anbu, but instead of the typical markings, the animal faces were skeletal. Shizune received a pig mask, Kin received a squirrel mask, Tenten received a panda mask, Hinata received a falcon mask, Naruto received a fox mask, and Tsunade received a slug mask. Now group on missions we will wear these masks and refer to each other as our animal names, so no one finds out that it is okay, Tsunade stated to the group. The shop door was broken into just before any of them could speak. "Help! Help, there are leaf ninja at the bridge threatening to attack us," the man was shouting. Tsunade told her team, "Okay group, it's time to stop this and put what you learned to the test." The Great Bridge of Naruto, 3 Leaf Anbu members wearing masks bearing the root symbol and 2 Hyuga branch members were standing at one end of the bridge. The root team's leader declared, "Lady Tsunade, we are here to kill the demon along with your little group." One of the branch members stated, "And we are here to kill this pathetic excuse for a Hyuga." Naruto had a serious expression on his face as he walked to the front of the group. Naruto put on his mask and prepared Gingnur for battle, saying, "You will not hurt my precious people. I promise you this on my life." The others also put on their masks and prepared. Hinata and Shizune went to face the branch Hyuga, while Tsunade, Naruto, Tenten, and Kin went off to face the root Anbu. Naruto yelled, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," and produced roughly 100 shadow clones, all of which were Gingnur clones. Naruto sent his clones into battle first, then moved behind them with a second clone to form a Rasengan when he heard Naruto yell, "Rasengan," and had it thrust into him, causing him to spiral into another clone that used Gingnur to slash across his chest. He had to destroy the clones while Naruto was moving the root Anbu, which was using 2 long kunai. Girabanen had already been eliminated by Tenten, and Kin was diverting their opponent with her senbon. Tenten became enraged after the root Anbu got too close to Kin and pinned her between 2 trees. Tenten shouted, "Kin, duck!" He threw Girabanen at the root Anbu, removing his head before he could move. Kin hugged Tenten and yelled, "Thank you so much Tenten, you saved my life." As Hinata approached her opponent, she called Airguys to her embrace. "You shall leave now or face a true Hyuga and the weapons of the Falcons," Hinata stated to him. Unflinching, Hinata and her opponent danced to death with their soft fists, with neither side emerging victorious. The branch Hyuga declared, "I'll kill you demon whore first, and then I'll make that demon watch you die before killing him." After that, Hinata became furious and flung Airguys' blades out, beginning to slash at the Hyuga branch. When Hinata finally managed to get close enough to strike him, he was able to amputate his arms with the claws. However, a light fist to the heart killed him before he could even scream. Since Shizune and Tsunade had already killed their opponents, Tsunade chose to deal with the bodies after noticing that her students had just killed their first victims. "Shizune, take the kids to Tazuna's house, help them deal with their first kills. I'll deal with the bodies," she replied. Tsunade sealed the bodies in a scroll and called forth a falcon to carry them to the leaf before returning to Tezuna's. Tsunade smirked and said, summoning jutsu. I want you to take this scroll to Jiraiya at the Hidden Leaf Village, and don't leave until the Hyuga elders see the bodies and and if you want you can stay around to cause a little trouble for the Hyuga. The house of Tezuna Shizune was able to calm the children down about their first kills just as Tsunade entered. The teacher Shizune asked, did you take care of the bodies, Lady Tsunade? Before giving the scroll to Shizune to brief the team, Tsunade said, yes Shizune, I did, but now it's time to talk about our first mission. She had received the scroll from Jiraiya. Okay team, our mission is to go to the Katabami gold mine in River Country and free it from the control of the Kurasuki family. Now the leader of the Kurasuki family is Kurasuki Raiga, former member of the Mist Seven Swordsmen, Shizune said during the team's debriefing. Naruto exclaimed with excitement, wait, you mean he's from the same group as Kisame and Zabuza? Wait, maybe he knows where Kisame and Itachi are. Tsunade stated bluntly, yes, Naruto, he might, but it doesn't matter because we aren't strong enough to oppose the Akatsuki yet. Then Tsunade approached and ushered Tezuna inside. Now group, I have a very important announcement to make. We didn't just come to Wave to train but to get Tezuna here to start construction on a new hidden village right here in Wave, she stated to her teammates. At that point, Naruto became enthusiastic. You mean I can still be a cage? What's going to be the name? I know, the hidden Naruto village, Naruto replied. Everyone then collapsed, face first. No, we will not name it the hidden Naruto village Gaki. It will be called the Hidden Whirlpool Village. As of now the plans for the village are minimal. This huge middle island is going to be the main part with the town square. The North Island is going to have the Cages Tower and the Namikaze compound. The compound is being built as we speak to my design. The rest of the smaller islands will be for other compounds. We are also going to attempt to find the old Hidden Whirlpool Village to use their jutsu in hiding and defending the village, mainly their use of whirlpools around the islands with jutsu to calm them for boats, and one to sink the bridges to the mini-islands when attacked, and one for the Great Naruto Bridge that only the guards can use to let visitors in, said, laying out the present village. Now on to the last part of this meeting, our on-road training. We shall start out with giving you one weapon or taijutsu style, two jutsu, a medical technique, and a strategical question, and as a group you must find several ways to solve it. If you do learn all of that by the time we get home we will give you a test and a forbidden jutsu, Shizune told the group. Everyone became enthusiastic about their training at that point, especially Naruto, who was learning new jutsu. However, Naruto invited Hinata to his room so they could speak before they left. The room of Naruto. Hinata turned beet red as she sat on the edge of Naruto's bed, and Naruto did the same next to her. Hinata, I have to ask you a question. We've been spending a lot of time together and you've shown me what it is to be cared for. First I want to know if you'll be my girlfriend? Naruto said to her. Hinata blushed a completely new shade of red and had to fight the urge to pass out as she rushed to embrace Naruto. Hinata exclaimed, why yes Naruto-kun, I'd love to be your girlfriend. Naruto blushed and said, okay, one more question, Hinata, will you let me put my mark on you? Of course Naruto-kun, especially since it will help you get stronger, said Hinata. In order to leave his mark on the Uzumaki spiral, Naruto leaned over to kiss her on the lips first, then proceeded to bite her collar and insert chakra into its tsunami, then entered and encased them both for the night, causing them to faint on top of one another. Day 5, the Great Bridge of Naruto. The following day, the group bid Tezuna and his family farewell while standing at the wave end of the famous Naruto Bridge. Naruto waved to the group and said, bye guys, I'll see you later. Inari yelled that she would see him again. A lone figure emerged from behind a tree after the group dispersed and Tezuna's family had gone home. A massive sword was strapped behind the back of that figure. Before disappearing into thin air, it declared, next time I see you, Naruto, I'll have my revenge. The Leaf Council room. At the moment, Jiraiya was listening in on a council meeting where the Hyuga elders were discussing the reason behind Hinata's receipt of Hyuga clan scrolls, that is, until a big falcon landed and began to talk. Before placing a scroll on the table and approaching the Hyuga elders, the falcon declared, I am the messenger of the Falcon summons. I have been sent by Tsunade-sama to deliver this to the Hokage Jiraiya of the Sannin. Before departing, the falcon said in a mysterious way, and to let the Hyuga clan know that a true successor has been found. Jiraiya, what's in the scroll? What did that slug witch send us now? Danzo screamed. Jiraiya and the other council members were astounded by what they saw when they opened the scroll because of the dead bodies on the table. The elders, Danzo, and Hyuga, did not believe they could murder the team that was sent after them. As Jiraiya sarcastically put it, well, It seems that we have a group of branch Hyuga and Anbu. Now why would they be sent back to us dead? You see this Jiraiya? They killed our own ninja. We need to send our best hunter ninja to find and kill them. Koharu replied. She thought anxiously. Good thing no one noticed that the Anbu had the root symbol on their mask. Hiyashi Hyuga began to speak while glaring at the elders. As he glanced at the Hyuga elders and then the council elders, he said, "First off, it's Hokage-sama to you, elder. And obviously they attacked Tsunade and her group. The real question is who here has the power to send a group of branch Hyuga and Anbu to attack them?" Anxiously, one of the Hyuga elders asked, "Are you trying to say, Hiyashi-san, that we were responsible for their actions?" Before the council elders and Hyuga elders stood up and departed, another elder yelled, "We will not stand for your accusations. You best learn some respect, Hiyashi." Shikaku began speaking as soon as he saw them go. "You did see the root symbol on the mask, didn't you, Jiraiya-sama? If not, that would be troublesome," he replied to the Hokage. "Of course I did, Shikaku. It's all a part of my plan. You see, it's time to start taking down those that are not loyal by turning them against each other, starting with the bad clan elders," Jiraiya replied with a wicked grin. Sume, the Inuzuka's head, began to speak. After noticing his smirk, she smirked, just like Jiraiya, and said, "Two things. First, how are you going to do that? Next, I want in." "Easy, Sume-san. You see, us along with the most loyal of Anbu and clan members are going to kill the elders one group at a time. Then place evidence that Root did it so the elders get nervous," he replied. After hearing the plan, they all rose and set out to locate clan members who were loyalists in order to begin this task. Town of Mining. Tsunade prepared her team for some scouting by approaching the mining town's entrance. "Okay team, it's time to do some scouting and find out what's going on in this town," she stated to her teammates. Hinata blushed nervously and said, "Pardon me, Tsunade-sensei, but could Naruto-kun and I go on a D-date while we scout?" "Ah, of course, Hinata. Just make sure to do your scouting to now. I'm going to go scout the bars, while Shizune you take Tenten and Kin to scout the rest of the town," she replied with a grin. As Naruto and Hinata ran off, Naruto said, "Come on, Granny, we all know that you just want to go get drunk." Tsunade's shout, "Naruto," reverberated throughout the town. Hinata and Naruto approached a food stand while strolling down the street and placed an order for lunch. Nervously, Naruto asked his new girlfriend, "So Hinata-hime, how are you feeling now that I marked you?" Hinata grinned and turned her head away from the dango she had ordered. "I feel like I have some more chakra now, but not that much different. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. Q said that it would take some time, for let's just enjoy the date and do some spying." Hinata replied with a huge hug for Naruto. "I'm sorry, Hinata-hime, it's just that you're the first person of our age to ever show me any real love and I just don't want to ruin it with being stupid," Naruto replied as he looked away. Before they began to eat, Hinata said, "Don't worry, Naruto-kun. I will always love you no matter what, and I'll always be there when you need help like you are for me." Before two men in all black cloaks entered and began discussing funerals in the corner, they both ate in silence. Naruto was about to go over there and fight them when Hinata saw that they were planning to kill the gold mine owner in order to seize control, but she stopped him and gave him a kiss. Naruto, who was redder than Hinata, exclaimed, "Wow, what was that for Hinata-hime?" Hinata told him, "It's just something that I've wanted to do for a long time, Naruto-kun." They spent the remainder of the morning listening to the two men converse before heading out to inform Tsunade of their strategy. The Forest of Death. Kiba, Lee, Choji, Shikamaru, Neji, and Shino were all waiting for their new teachers in the Forest of Death until 5 individuals showed up: Jiraiya and Bubor, a young girl, and Hana Inuzuka, a man with long black hair and 2 jugs by his side. "Listen up, Genin, these here are you first instructors. They will be teaching you for the next 2 weeks before some of them trade off. At the end of each week we will all meet back here and have a mock mission to test what you have learned. Any questions?" Jiraiya replied with a serious demeanor. When no one responded, he resumed his conversation. "Kiba, your sister is going to teach you all of your clan's tracking techniques. Li Lu Yan here will be perfecting your drunken fist style. Choji and Bubor here will start by teaching you the basic of defensive jutsu. Shikamaru Isis is going to start you on allied village codes, and I'm going to start Neji and Shino on basic spying skills," Jiraiya continued. They all separated from their teachers to review their training schedules after that was finished. Tsunade camp team. After discussing their strategy for the gold mines, Team Tsunade was now gathered around a campfire. "Okay team, now that we have this whole afternoon free, it's time to start training. First, Naruto, I want you to create about 500 shadow clones and have them work on tree walking and the leaf floating exercises we showed you," Tsunade responded. Tsunade began her next orders after Naruto created his clones. Now for the rest of us, we're going to start our weapon training. So think what kind of weapon you use, then summon either the animal it's associated with or a tiger to train you on the basic kata of it." Tsunade stated that her team was beginning to train. As they trained with their weapons, Naruto called forth the Tarakan, Hinata called forth the Takanomo, Tsunade called forth Katsuya, Tenten called forth Kamekasui, and Kin and Shizune called forth tigers. Tsunade gathered them all for a discussion following their training. She asked, "So team, did you all get the basic training done?" And grinned as she saw them all shake their heads. "Good, then next time all you need to do is summon the weapon master for your weapon," she replied. Hearing everyone's stomachs rumble, Shizune said, "Tsunade-sama, I think the whole team needs something to eat before we go to the mines. How about that curry shop we saw on the way in?" "Shizune, that's a wonderful idea. Okay team, let's head out," Tsunade responded. The Curry of Life Tsunade entered the shop team and sat down at a big table to wait for service. An elderly woman with gray hair said, "Hello, my name is Sancho, how may I be of assistance to you today?" Tsunade smirked at Naruto and said, "Hello, we would like 5 orders of curry and one of your Curry of Life." After leaving a few minutes later, Sancho sits in front of Naruto and serves them their curry. However, a man wearing a black cloak left before they could even finish their meal and bid Sancho farewell. Both Naruto and Hinata turned around when they heard his voice, recognizing it while Naruto was about to leap from his chair and attack him. Hinata remained composed and watched him. However, Hinata saw this and pushed a spoonful of his curry into his mouth, allowing the man to go. Naruto waved cool amber into his mouth and remarked, Hinata-han, what was that for? He was the one that was at the food stall." Tenten said, "Pardon me, Sancho, but who was that just left?" The elderly woman questioned, "Oh, that was Karashi. Why?" "No reason, we just thought he looked like an old friend," Kin responded. The group then rose and headed for the gold mine. The gold mine at Katabami. Tsunade was waiting behind a boulder for the ideal moment to attack when the gold mine team arrived. An elderly man was being held by a group of cloaked men on top of the mine, in front of another man who had a huge hump and a black cloak. The one with the hump asked, "So old man, are you going to give us the mine or do we have to take it?" As the old man shouted, "You'll have to kill me before you ever get your hands on the gold Raiga." Raiga had a sick smile on his face as he approached the owner. He gave his gang the order to place the man in a coffin by saying, "Good, it's about time we had another funeral." Tsunade was preparing for a fight during the entire time Raiga and the owner were conversing, but before the other members of the team could intervene, Naruto became enraged, took off his mask, and began running directly at Raiga while eliminating Gingnur. When Tsunade saw Naruto running directly at Raiga, she instructed the other girls to look after the gang members while she stood in for Naruto, and Shizune looked after the owner. Raiga blocked all of Naruto's blows before he launched his attack, saying, "So what do we have here? You want to fight me, huh? You do know that I was one of the legendary 7 swordsmen of the mist." Naruto began to make fun of Raiga after noticing how shocked he was when he stopped all of his attacks. "Yeah, I do, just like Kisame and Zabuza. Both I have faced. In fact, I was on the team that killed Zabuza," Naruto replied. With his entire group out, Raiga remarked, "So you faced Fish Face and No Brows, huh? Well, you should know this jutsu very well." Naruto regrouped with Hinata, Kin, and Tenten after realizing what jutsu Raiga was going to employ. "Hidden Mist Jutsu," was shouted by Raiga. Tenten questioned, "Falcon, can your Bakugan see through the mist?" "Bakugan," exclaimed Hinata. She informed her, "No, I can't see anything. Something is blocking it." Raiga shouted into the haze, "Lightning style, lightning balls jutsu," and launched 4 lightning balls at the group, dividing them into Hinata and Naruto and Tenten and Kin groups of 2. Hinata saw something with her Bakugan at the moment of the attack. "Fox, there's something on his back in those bandages. I think that's what's blocking my Bakugan," she stated to him. Naruto performed his signature jutsu after saying, "No problem, all we have to do is get that thing off his back, and I have a plan, but we need some way to tell the others though." Naruto created 5 clones and said, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." In order to locate the other 2 girls, Naruto then launched the 5 clones into the mist. They were discovered by one of the clones, who then began to explain the plan. "Hey Panda and Squirrel, remember the plan we came up with for Slug's strategy question? Well, instead of a package we need to get that thing off of Raiga's back," the Shadow Clone replied. "Okay Fox, me and the rest of your Shadow Clones will distract him and Panda here will cut that thing off his back. Tell Falcon to be ready to grab it and run." Kin was speaking to the group. Naruto created more Shadow Clones after saying, "Okay Hinata, the plan is a go. When Panda cuts that thing off his back you need to go in and get it, okay?" As he signed for his next jutsu, Raiga remarked, You think that those little clones can stop me? You're wrong. He yelled, lightning style. Chain lightning jutsu. And struck one of the clones, dismantling half of them as he passed the lightning chain to the others. Kin was attempting to follow him throughout the entire exchange in order to tag him with one of her senbon bells. She was able to strike him when he eventually used his jutsu against Naruto's shadow clones. Panda, you need to throw your shield right where you hear my bell, okay? Tenten nodded and prepared for her role while waiting for Raiga to pause for a single moment. Raiga said, so what good did all of your clones do you? One jutsu and most of them are gone. Just before Tenten's shield emerged from the fog, severing his hump, Hinata entered and retrieved it, carrying it to the location where Tsunade and Shizune had concealed the mine owner. Raiga shouted, what did you do, Renmara? Where are you, Renmara? As she glimpsed his hump sitting in front of him through the fog. However, the yell of Rasengan startled him as he picked up the bundle. The sack then transformed into Naruto, who thrust a Rasengan into Raiga, sending him over the cliff and to the bottom of a pile of debris. The clan house of Sarutobi Asuma Sarutobi shouted to his nephew, Konohamaru, come over here, we need to talk. The young Sarutobi questioned, yeah Uncle Asuma, what's up? Asuma began speaking to his nephew after he took the summoning scroll from the monkey. We just received something from Naruto's group and from Enma the Monkey King, he replied. As Konohamaru became excited, he said, Naruto Nisan sent us something. What is it? I bet it's something cool. Asuma unrolled the scroll and demonstrated how to sign the monkey contract to Konohamaru, saying, well, it's time that you sign the monkey contract and that I live up to my responsibility. Okay, now Konohamaru, I don't want you to summon any monkey yet, until I say you can. You don't have the chakra to do that yet, okay? Konohamaru responded to his uncle after learning the signs from Asuma by heart. He said, okay Uncle Asuma. Asuma called out, summoning jutsu, to call forth the king of monkeys, Enma. Asuma, it's about time that you signed the contract. Ah, and young Konohamaru, I'm sure your grandfather would be proud. Now I think your friends are here. Konohamaru, why don't you go out and play while I talk with your uncle here about why he didn't sign sooner? Enma said with a smirk on her face and run away. Leaf Academy Udon, Moegi, and Hanabi waited for Iruka to arrive so they could begin training after he and his friends ran to the Ninja Academy. Konohamaru. Iruka was taken aback to see Hanabi in front of the group, but she chose to ignore it. They all began to run when Iruka said, okay team, let's start your training. We're going to start with 100 laps around the track. If you get it done in less than an hour, then I'll give you a break. Iruka had them practice basic jutsu and taijutsu after they finished running, and they all worked on the leaf floating exercise until their training was over. The Curry of Life. While Naruto was diverting Raiga's attention, Team Tsunade was seated around the table, having just returned with Karashi, Renmara, and the owner of the gold mine, all of whom they had captured or saved. I would like to thank you all for rescuing me from the clutches of Raiga. If there is anything I can do for you, all you have to do is ask. The mine owner stated this to them. Well, if we are starting our own hidden village, so any money or scrolls would be helpful, Tsunade replied. After giving it some thought, the owner came up with a plan before heading out to set things up. He told them, you know what I'll do for you? I'll contact some of my friends in the banking company and have them set one up in your village, and give you a nice little deposit to get things running. Now for you too. First Karashi, what were you doing helping Raiga? Do you know that after he got the mine this village would have been next? Shizune responded by berating him. I thought that if I joined him that he would spare my mother's curry shop when he did get to town. I guess that was wishful thinking, huh? Karashi replied sheepishly. Lin spoke while glancing at Renmara. You know, I was like you once. A very evil man helped me and I thought I should be there for him no matter what. Well, I was wrong, I didn't have to help him, she replied. Okay now team, how did you manage to get Renmara here away from Raiga? Asked Shizune. Well, we got it from the strategy question you asked us, on how we would get a package away from an enemy ninja, Tenten replied. Rewind. Team, here is your strategy exercise for this mission. Your mission is to receive a package from an enemy shinobi. Currently the enemy is hiding and you can't see him by normal means, so you must find a way to get the package, and if the enemy is a threat, take them out. Tsunade concluded, providing her teammates with their training. Finish the flashback. So we all got together and came up with this plan, said Hinata. Tsunade grinned as she gazed proudly at her students. Well then, good job, that plan was excellent and you had all of your bases covered using Kin and Hinata to find the enemy, she responded. They all turned to face Tenten when they heard her sobbing. But what about his swords? They're legendary, we should have went to get them, she responded. Before Naruto spoke, everyone turned to stare at her as if she had a second head. Well, if you want Tenten, I can send a few shadow clones to recover the swords, Naruto replied. Tenten's eyes began to sparkle at that precise moment. Tenten jumped on Naruto and gave him a bear hug before kissing him on the cheek, saying, thank you Naruto-kun, I would like that so much." To everyone's surprise, Hinata didn't even stop her. Only Tsunade, Shizune, and, surprisingly, Naruto saw Renmara and Karashi departing during the entire story. This is one of the reasons he sent multiple shadow clones to retrieve Raiga's swords. Make a Wave Tazuna had his entire construction team working on the new Namikaze estates at the time. The main building's foundation was completed, and the compound's walls were already up. A lone figure, taller than the person wielding it, was practicing sword kata on top of an old warehouse at the far end of Wave. Tsunade camp team. To Naruto's delight, Tsunade made the shadow clones and sent them off to do their thing. Okay team, now it's time for you all to start reading up on your medical text. First off Naruto, if you would make some shadow clones for chakra control, tree walking while leaf or kunai balancing, and by the end of the day you should be genin level. Tsunade primarily looked at Naruto as she said, now for the rest of you, start reading these books. If you need any help, don't be afraid to ask. Naruto had to pause multiple times during the book reading session to seek assistance from one of the girls, but by the end, he was able to comprehend all of the material he had read thus far. Naruto grinned like a fox and remarked, you know you girls are all way better than most of the teachers at the academy. They really did mess you up, didn't they Naruto-kun? Said Hinata. Every girl, including Tsunade and Shizune, had a look in their eyes that said that if they ever saw another of his teachers besides Iruka, they would experience pain, death, resurrection, more pain, and death once more. A clone then dispelled itself, and Naruto saw the expression in his eyes. Girls, one of my clones just told me that Karashi and Renmara are where Raiga was killed. I think they're trying to find him. Maybe we should go over there and see what's up, Naruto stated to the group. Tsunade had a bad feeling, so she told her team to get ready to leave, saying, alright team, suit up, we don't know what we're going into, so be prepared. Root Anbu base. Following the council's receipt of the corpses of the Root Anbu and Branch Hyuga members, Danzo and the two elders had been constantly strategizing how to care for Naruto. The elders of the Hyuga clan were excluded because they had already made the decision to maintain a low profile for the time being. Taking care of Tsunade and her small band of traitors was the responsibility of Danzo and his root. Maybe we should follow the Hyugas and keep a low profile for right now, at least until we know where they plan to stay, Hamaru responded. Danzo spoke while glancing at the two elders. Danzo sent a root ninja off, saying, you're right, that's why I'm sending one of my root trackers to find them and tell us where they are. The gold mine at Katabami. When Team Tsunade got there, Karashi and Renmara were already digging up Raiga. To their astonishment, however, Raiga was alive and moving. With Renmara's assistance in keeping him steady, he managed to escape the debris at last and snatched up his swords. Team Tsunade stepped up to complete what they had begun, following the three of them to the top of the mines. Raiga laughed evilly and said, so you still want to try to fight me? Can't you see you can't win? Tsunade began to say, yes they will, and you will lose. Panda, Squirrel, Fox, and Falcon, I'll let you take him on. If you need us, we'll be here, she replied. The five ninja then prepared for one of the most difficult battles of their lives. The bottom of the gold mine. Lord Raiga, you're still alive, exclaimed Karashi. Well, of course I am, you idiot. Do you think that those little brats could kill me? Raiga replied. Karashi questioned his commander. What are you going to do, Lord Raiga? Raiga spoke while glancing at one of his final supporters. Easy, we are going to kill those punks that thought they could beat me. But Raiga, they're only trying to help the people. Why do we have to hurt them? Renmara responded. Raiga glared at his tool and said, Renmara, don't ever try to disobey me, you are my tool to be used as I see. Renmara bowed his head to Raiga and began to speak. Yes, Lord Raiga. Is that all I am to you, a tool? Renmara asked, recalling the tale Naruto had told him about Zabuza and Haku. At least Zabuza loved his tool. Raiga laughed evilly and yelled, now it's time for my revenge and another beautiful funeral. Team Tsunade training in the past. Team, it is now time to start your jutsu training. Naruto, with all of your chakra training you now finally have the control of a chunin. Tsunade responded by hugging Naruto. Hinata hugged Naruto-kun and said, good job, Naruto-kun, I knew you could do it. With an eep from Hinata, Naruto pulled her in for a kiss and hugged her back, looking into her eyes and saying, thank you Hinata-han, I couldn't have done this without of all of you. Shizune handed out paper to Naruto, Hinata, and Tenten and said, now that is over, I need you three to push your chakra into these sheets of paper. Half of Hinata's paper got wet and the other half dried out when she used it. Half of Tenten's paper cracked from lightning, and the other half dried up like Hinata's. One side of Kin's paper was drying out when it was cut in half. The most intriguing of them all was Naruto's. His paper split in half in both directions, forming 4 sections. One was wet, one was dried up, one was burned, and the final one crackled from lightning. Tsunade and Shizune appeared to have been struck by lightning jutsu as they stood there. I want all of you to know that it is not normal to have more than one element as your main one. Shizune started with fire, while I had earth and water. Tsunade replied. But you Hinata have water and earth, Tenten you have earth and lightning, Kin you have wind and earth, and Naruto you seem to have every element wind, water, fire, earth, and lightning, she continued. Naruto yelled, this just proves how awesome we are, and pulled Hinata and Tenten into a big embrace, causing both girls to blush. Tenten had to ask Tsunade a question after breaking off the embrace. Does that mean we can only learn jutsu from that element, Tsunade-sensei? She inquired. Not at all, Tenten. They just start out easier. In fact, you can gain new elements by training them, and as you go they will get easier. You might even be able to combine them to make some of the more rare elements like ice or wood. Tsunade responded to the question of her young apprentice. So since you all have earth as one of you elements, we will start you on one offensive and one defensive jutsu for it, Shizune concluded. Mine entry, Naruto yelled. Okay, you girls, let's do this. Tenten looked at Fox and began to speak. Well Fox, what's the plan then? Fox said, preparing his team. They already had their masks down. Naruto took out Ginner, Hinata put on air guise, and Tenten summoned a katana while loosening up Girabanan. Squirrel, I want you to stay back with long-range attacks, while me and Panda here get up front and personal with Raiga. Falconheim, I want you ready to grab Renmara if you can. It doesn't look like he wants to be with Raiga anymore. Raiga remarked, so the little kiddies came to fight me? Hinata began searching for a way to seize Renmara as Naruto and Tenten charged at Raiga and began slashing at him with their weapons. Kin remained behind to wait for an opportunity. After that, Naruto took control and Tenten retreated to employ one of their new jutsu by using Ginner. Naruto managed to divert Raiga's attention long enough for Tenten to employ the jutsu. Raiga realized then that the only object above the ground was his head rising above the ground. Tenten yelled, Headhunter jutsu. Before the Raiga in the hole turned to water, Hinata began to say, good job Panda-chan, now we. From behind them all, Raiga exclaimed, water clone jutsu. Raiga barked, lightning style, lightning spear jutsu, and hurled his swords at the Chunin group, challenging their jutsu. Before they heard Kin yell, they were all getting ready to be struck, earth style, earth wall jutsu, standing in front of the other fighters, forming a huge wall. Naruto charged towards Raiga, ready to create a Rasengan, and yelled, thanks a lot Squirrel, now you're mine Raiga. Raiga signed for another jutsu and said, not if I get your girls first. He shouted, lightning style, lightning dragon jutsu, toward the trio of girls. No! Exclaimed Naruto. Market district of Leaf Village. Smoke rising from the market district was visible to everyone in the village, hidden in the leaves. While some of the houses were still burning, others had already burned down. The Anbu unit that was dispatched managed to put out the fires, but they were unable to save any of the occupants. Ordinary people would assume that someone simply left their stove on if they passed these homes. However, a skilled ninja would notice that the buildings were destroyed using fire jutsu and paper bombs. A leaf root Anbu mask was the only item visible in each building that was not burned. Mine entry. Everyone believed Naruto had died when he was struck by the lightning dragon jutsu while jumping in front of the girls and was knocked off the cliffs. However, they were unaware that Naruto was now ascending the cliff once more. Tenten screamed, you killed him. How could you kill him? What did he ever do to you? As she began to swing her sword at Raiga. Kin yelled, we'll kill you for that, as they threw Senbon at Raiga. Until the very end, when she screamed and charged at Raiga with her Bakugan at full power, Hinata remained silent. Raiga was on the defensive the entire time they attacked. Kin was throwing Senbon at his pressure points when Tenten wasn't using her sword and shield to attack him, and Hinata was using her gentle fist on him when Kin wasn't. Hinata said icily as she prepared to employ the maneuver her brother Neji had taught her, you are within my range of divination. She yelled, 8 trigrams 64 palms. As she began to move she yelled, 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. Raiga struggled to stand up, coughing up blood, but eventually he managed. Nice try little girl, but with Renmara here I'm able to dodge all of your little strikes, Raiga replied. You may have dodged most, but I did hit you several times, all of which I believe Renmara didn't warn you about on purpose, Hinata said in jest to Raiga. Tenten turned to the young boy and said, isn't that right Renmara? Raiga tightened the straps on Renmara's back and body just as he was about to respond to them. Keeping him silent, Raiga glared at the girls and declared, "Renmara is my tool and he will do as I say." Kin glared at Raiga and remarked, "You know I was once a tool of Orochimaru, and as you see I'm not with him anymore." Renmara looked at Kin and began to reflect. He reasoned that if she was able to leave her master, perhaps I could too. Raiga Hinata began to ambush Tenten and Kin in order to reclaim Renmara. While they were diverting his attention, however, everyone turned around just in time to see someone charging at him after Raiga saw her and turned to strike her. As Naruto pushed a Rasengan into Raiga, away from Hinata and Renmara, they all heard the word, Rasengan. Chambers of the Leaf Council. Jiraiya said, Order, what is the meaning of this meeting? "This is to discuss what we are to do now that half of the civilian council have been killed because of fires," said Elder Hamaru. Jiraiya had to try hard not to smile as he looked around at the council. "Well, until we find out who killed them we will let the council stay as it is," the Sage of the Toad replied. One civilian questioned, "What do you mean who killed them? Wasn't it just an accident?" Shikaku placed the mask on the center table and stated, "No, there were indications of fire jutsu and paper bombs being used, as well as we discovered these at each of the houses." Sume chose to speak after observing Danzo and the other two elders begin to look around uneasily. "Also, all of our Anbu were out on missions or at their post when the buildings caught on fire, so we have no idea who could have done it," she continued. "Sume, I want you some of your trusted trackers to start investigating the scene. Until then we will not talk about this." Jiraiya then addressed the council. A Hyuga council spy left to report to them in the room's shadows. Danzo was pondering, "I didn't give my rude instructions to do anything like that, so how did those masks enter those homes? What's going on?" As the other two elders gave him a suspicious look, he thought. Wave Country. The main house needed to be completed as the new Namikaze compound was nearly complete in Wave. The same swordsman was preparing Naruto in another section of the Wave. Mine entry. Raiga was shocked to see Naruto again and jumped out of the way just in time. "Well, it seems that I wasn't able to kill you the first time. Shame, I will have to change that." Raiga giggled. Naruto taunted Raiga by asking, "What makes you think you can kill me? Zabuza and Kisame were able to do it." Raiga yelled at Naruto, "Zabuza and Kisame are weaklings, I will kill you." Summoning jutsu. Naruto exclaimed, aware that the lightning dragon attack had left him still weak. Torakan Swallow stopped Raiga's charge as he looked at his summoner. "I see you're having trouble with this ant. Well then let's beat him together." Raiga shouted, "I'll show you an ant," as she charged the two. The girls were attempting to figure out why Renmara had left them to assist his old master while Naruto and Toriken were engaged in combat with Raiga. "Renmara, why did you leave to find Raiga? You know that he would treat you like a tool just like my old master," Kin responded. Renmara replied, his face saddened by Raiga's treatment of him. "I thought that he just acted like I was his tool, like you told me Zabuza did with that Haku girl." Renmara broke down. Hinata approached Renmara and wrapped her arms around him in a hug. "It's okay, we understand, but know that we will always be with you and help you if you need it." She was grinning. Renmara apologized, "I'm sorry for leaving to find Raiga." Tenten joined in on the hug, saying, "It's okay, we'll stop him and make sure everything is okay." Raiga begins to question whether Renmara is acting appropriately when she witnesses him hugging those three girls. Flower Shop. Yamanaka. The girls were receiving training from Ino, Sakura, Hana, Anko, and Kurenai while they were seated in the Yamanaka flower shop. Kurenai explained to the two girls why they were there. "Okay girls, we three have created a training schedule for you at Kakashi's request. He is currently on a mission and won't be back for a while." Anko winked and ate a stick of dango suggestively before saying, "Now Kurenai here will be training you both in genjutsu. Hana will be working on your chakra and stamina, and I will be teaching you the finer points of torture and seduction." Hana pulled out a piece of paper and gave one to each of them, saying, "Now first off we need to know what are your main elements. Now I want you to channel your chakra into your piece of paper." Sakura's paper was wet on one side and burned on the other, while Ino's paper dried up after channeling their chakra into it. "Hana-sama, why did my paper get wet and burned but Ino's only dried up?" Sakura inquired. "Well, Sakura, Ino has an affinity for earth while you have two, one for water and one for fire," replied Hana. "Now having more than one element to start is rare. I started with wind as mine, Hana had earth, and Anko had fire and earth. Don't get me wrong, it's not unheard of, and you can train up your other elements to just as high your main one, but it takes time," said Kurenai. Anko chose to speak after glancing at the girls as she left the girls. She said, "Well, girls, we'll meet at Training Ground 13 tomorrow at dawn." Mine entry Raiga slashed at Naruto, thinking, Renmara, do you really hate me so now? Before departing, Toraikan said to his partner, Naruto, I have to go, this opponent is tough, and we both wasted too much chakra. Raiga's sword was about to kill Naruto, who was panting from their battle, when a turtle appeared and used his shell to block them. Tenten calmly said to her partner, thank you for saving him. Kamakasui, please take him back to Tsunade and Shizune to heal him. Kamakasui grabbed Naruto in her mouth and walked away, saying, as you wish, Tenten. Tenten grinned as he walked in front of Raiga. Tenten, holding Girabanen in her other hand, flared her chakra and ignited the legendary Raijin, saying, you like to play with lightning, huh? Then try this. Raiga posed the classic question, that's the legendary Raijin, how do you have that? As she ran toward Raiga, she exclaimed, I'm Panda, the soon-to-be legendary weapon mistress. You didn't think I only had a shield, did you? Tenten used Girabanen to block each of his blows while pushing the already exhausted Raiga back towards the cliff's edge and taking quick swipes at his arms and legs. Raiga soon realized that he was near the cliff's edge, and recalling what Renmara had said, he concluded that even if he could defeat this panda girl, he could not. He therefore made the decision to give her a final blow to the chest, which caused him to fall off the cliff and lose his swords. Naruto saw this while with Tsunade and recalled that he had promised to get the swords from Raiga. He got up and dove over the cliff, grabbing the swords as he went. Raiga called out, Renmara, as she fell, recalling their happy times together. Before he made the decision to break up, he shouted, lightning style, lighting rod jutsu, and sent a lightning bolt down to kill him. While the other girls hurried to check on him, Tenten yelled, Naruto-kun, as he leapt off the cliff to retrieve the swords. Naruto hauled himself to his feet and stood atop the cliff. Holding Raiga's swords, he handed them to her and remarked, I promised I would get them for you, Tenten-chan. Tenten jumped on Naruto and gave him a wild kiss, saying, Naruto-kun, you're okay, and you even saved Raiga's swords, the lightning catchers. Tsunade approached and lifted Tenten away from Naruto. Naruto, don't you ever do something that stupid again. Jumping off the cliff, what were you thinking? But I am glad that you're okay. Tsunade hugged Naruto. Okay team, good job out there, now let's head back to camp and rest, Shizune replied. Tent for girls. Tenten and Hinata are seated inside the girls' tent, conversing. Hinata smirked and asked, so Tenten, you seem to be taking a liking to Naruto-kun? She blushed and said, well, you see, yeah, I kinda have. He is so kind, always thinking of others before himself, keeping his promises no matter what, and he did bring me those swords like he said he would. Tenten blushed at the thought. Hinata took a cue from her love life and decided to be a little cunning after seeing the other girl blush. Tenten, you do know I am his girlfriend, right? And I get say in who he dates, Hinata replied. I know, Hinata-chan, that is why I'm here to ask you if you would allow me to try and go out with Naruto-kun. Tenten was blushing. Hinata responded to her, knowing that Tenten was sincere in her intentions and that Naruto genuinely liked her. Tenten gave her a big hug after she said, Tenten-chan, if Naruto-kun accepts, then I don't mind sharing him with you. Allowing the girls to spend the majority of the evening sitting and chatting about Naruto until he entered and asked if Hinata wanted to go for a walk. Woodland Naruto questioned, so Hinata-heim, how are you after that battle? As they were strolling. Hinata couldn't resist blushing as she looked over at Naruto. I'm fine, Naruto-kun, but, more importantly, how are you? You fell off of the cliff twice, she replied. While massaging the back of his head, Naruto remarked, oh, that was nothing, and the second time I jumped I didn't fall. But more importantly about me and Tenten, I didn't mean for her to jump on me and start kissing me. I hope you aren't mad at me or her. He blushed. In an attempt to calm him, Hinata blushed back at Naruto. She grabbed his hand and pulled him down to lean against a tree. It's okay. Naruto-kun, Tenten-chan told me all about it, just like me. She has feelings for you, and if you want, you may try to further a relationship with her as well. That is as long as you remember that I'm always your Heim. Naruto leaned over to Hinata and kissed her, saying, well, she is nice and she doesn't hate me because of the fox, but you will always be my Heim. Until they both got up to return to the camp for the night, they remained in that position into the night. Curry of Life Store Team Tsunade was bidding Renmara farewell the following morning. Now remember, Renmara, keep training, because once the village is up and running we will send someone to come and pick you up, Tsunade concluded. The group heads out back to Wave, train, and wait for their next mission after everyone else has said goodbye. River Country Clearing. Tsunade showed the group 2 books she had opened and said, team, you have all done incredibly well so far, but if you want those jutsu you all have one more task to do, and that is to read these 2 basic medical texts. Tsunade-sensei, how are we going to read both of those books before we get to Wave? They're kinda big, Kin responded. Well, me and Shizune both decided that you all can now make 2 shadow clones with your chakra and control, so the one clone will read each book, while you all start to make camp, she continued. While the rest of the team set up camp and ate the rabbits they caught for dinner, the clones spent the remainder of the afternoon reading the books. However, they had free time after dinner while the new clones finished the books. Hinata and Naruto conversed by the fire. Tsunade studied a scroll, Kin and Shizune talked, and Tenten polished her shield. Hinata, eager to finish this, said, Naruto-kun, we need to talk, okay? Naruto spoke while glancing at his new girlfriend. He said, sure thing Hinata-heim, are you okay? Well, me and Tenten have been talking and, like me, she also seems to like you. Now I know that you said that I get say in if you can date anyone else, so I talked to her and decided that if you want you can try going out with her, she blushed. For his part, Naruto was stunned and found it difficult to think, but he managed to respond to his Heim after he saw her nod her head. He said, thanks Hinata-heim, but do you really think that she likes me of all people? Well, Hinata-heim, if it's okay with you and she really wants to, I would love to give it a go. To be truthful, she is kinda cute and pretty nice to me too. He blushed. She called Tenten over and sarcastically said, she's cute huh, and what about me? Naruto sputtered to save himself the entire time, unable to even form a word. Tenten said to the two, hey Naruto-kun, Hinata-heim, were you talking about me? Hinata told the other girl, I told Naruto-kun about your feelings for him, Tenten, and he decided to try it out. I was just teasing him. Naruto managed to stop spluttering and speak at last. Actually, if both of you would like, I would love to take both of you on single dates, and then maybe on a date with all 3 of us, Naruto replied. Tenten chose to respond on Hinata's behalf after noticing her smile before getting up to give him a hug and a cheek kiss. She winked at him and said, we would love that Naruto-kun, but you better make them good. After a few seconds, Hinata decided to join in after noticing that Tenten was holding on, but she kissed him on the lips rather than the cheek. Both girls hugged and kissed him for a few minutes before releasing their hold, and Hinata resumed her conversation in an attempt to move the conversation along. She asked, now Naruto-kun, is there any other girl that you would like to try and have a relationship with besides us? After a few moments of contemplation, Naruto was able to respond with awe from both girls. He said, well, I'm already so lucky to not just have one but 2 great and beautiful girls. I did get a letter from Sakura when we were in Wave, and it seems like she is trying to change. She does have a long way to go. Besides her I don't know, he replied. Then we will just have to see what other girls seem to like you, Tenten replied. The 3 of them spent the remainder of the evening conversing and getting to know one another better before Kin was drawn into the discussion. They then went to bed after setting up their lookout schedule. Ground 7 for leaf training. Sakura was waiting for Ino and her senseis to arrive while reading a letter she had received from Gamakichi while seated beneath a tree. To Sakura, Sakura thought to herself, I'm not Sakura-chan, but that's okay, I deserve that. I appreciate the letter. It's encouraging to know that Konoha and my team haven't deserted me. I'm happy to hear that you're making an effort to transform from a simple fangirl into a true kunoichi in order for us to be able to see each other again. I sincerely hope that you are training effectively. I hope to see you soon, Sakura, as we are heading out to train some more before our mission. Naruto. Before the other girls approached to begin training, Sakura thought, I will see you soon, Naruto. The Great Bridge of Naruto. Naruto was shocked to see a figure waiting at the end of the bridge after racing across it before anyone else. When that figure encased them both in an ice dome, he was even more shocked. The person who had done this to him was standing in front of a mirror, half of a Hunter ninja mask on. Naruto exclaimed, what in the world, who did this? Wait, you, how could you still be alive? I thought you died. The mystery ninja removed the mask and spoke, my, you see Naruto, my bloodline was able to save me. Why did you miss me after you killed my master? The ninja said. Recalling that incident, Naruto questioned, but Haku, what are you talking about? I didn't kill Zabuza, and why do you have his sword? I put it there after digging your graves myself. Haku removed the sword from her back and placed it on her shoulder as she walked around the dome. Haku, who was unconscious when Zabuza died, asked, if you and your team didn't kill Zabuza-sensei, then who pray tell did then? Haku, after you were hit with Kakashi's Chidori, Gato tried to have Zabuza killed, so he went and killed Gato, and then he died from wounds from his mercenaries before me and Kakashi took them all out, Naruto said in an attempt to soothe the girl. Knowing that all of her charges were untrue, Haku asked, how do I know that you're not lying to me, trying to cover up your own actions? Naruto dropped both Ginner and Yagyu as he approached Haku, demonstrating to her that she didn't need to fear his attack. I give you my word that we didn't kill Zabuza, and you remember that I always keep my word, right? Naruto replied. Haku recalled their first encounter, when Naruto told her about his nindo. After hearing him deliver his word, Haku let the mirrors melt around Naruto as she ran up to embrace him, dropping her sword and sobbing on his shoulder. Hinata had been watching the entire event with her Bakugan. During this entire ordeal, she managed to prevent the other girls from attacking the ice dome. Tsunade approached Naruto and Haku and broke them up so they could speak. "You know that you're going to have to tell us everything that just happened in there, right?" she inquired. The shinobi group listened to Haku's story for the next hour while seated at the end of the bridge with the three apprentices observing. It was ultimately decided that Haku would join the group. Following a brief checkup by Tsunade and Shizune, they were now on their way to the Shadows Blade to get Haku some new clothes. Blade of Shadows Haku and Kin both made the decision to purchase new clothing in the store. Kin now wore a green camouflage scarf around her neck and her hair down to her ass under her camouflage green chunin vest, which featured two new straps on the back to secure her chain scythe. She wore a fishnet shirt. She had Senbon holsters on each leg in addition to her kunai and shuriken holsters, and her camouflage pants, which had previously been baggy, were now tighter. In addition to wearing boots, she adorned her forearms with camouflage bracers. Haku wore her bangs sideways and her hair up in a bun. She wore an ice blue chunin vest with a dark blue sleeveless shirt. She wore an open ice blue gi over her vest, and on the back, there was a water and ice dragon curled around each other with a joint kunai and shuriken holster on her right hip, two senbon holsters on her left hip, an additional senbon holder on her right thigh, and a pouch on her ass for additional supplies. She had a holster for the Kabikari Haucho on the back of her gi. She wore a penguin skull-themed black Anbu mask, just like the others. Telling the owner they would return later after visiting their new compound to get supplies, they left after getting their clothes and a few supplies. Namikaze substance. The group met Tazuna, Inari, and Tsunami as they walked to the bridge that led to the island containing the Namikaze compound. After that, Tazuna took them on a tour of the compound, first pointing out the various training areas and spare houses. He then escorted them to the main house, where he showed them the expansive garden at the rear of the house, which included a zen garden and various plants and trees. After that, he led them into the main foyer and led them downstairs to the basement, which had a small shed in the corner to store different supplies and a single room as large as the entire house used for training. Tazuna led them back up to the first floor, where they found the enormous library, which was only 25% full. The group was informed that they would use the meeting room, the next significant space on the first floor, for mission debriefing later. Each person had their own room to suit their needs, and the second and third stories were filled with bedrooms. Additionally, each room featured walls that could be readily removed to expand the space for additional people. This was advantageous because a number of people had already made plans to leave their rooms early. The team was then led into the meeting room for their mission debriefing and instructed to visit the rest of the house later. The team not only informed Haku of what transpired during the meeting, but also talked about their positive performance, such as working together to defeat a more formidable opponent and applying the new skills they had learned. Shizune then escorted everyone outside, with the exception of Naruto, to the hallway so that she and Tsunade could conduct their own personal evaluations. Shizune went back to the room and sat down next to her mentor, prepared to speak with Naruto. Tsunade said to the now bright child, "Naruto, let's start with that. You did very well on this mission. You and your team were able to take out Raiga with the plan you made using your strengths. You were also able to learn both the Earth-style Earth Wall Jutsu and the Headhunter Jutsu. Your use of clones not only brought your chakra control up to par, but also allowed you to finish both books in time. Lastly, you were able to master the basics of your swallow, to be able to use it that good against Raiga." Tsunade concluded her story with her apprentice. Shizune interrupted Naruto just as he was ready to get up and start dancing joyfully to ask him a question. "Now that we have told you what you did good on this mission, we would like to know what you thought you could improve on." The young lady responded. Naruto gave it some thought before responding. "Well, I think that my biggest mistake was rushing in to attack Raiga. Diving in front of his lightning jutsu was kinda stupid too," he grumbled sheepishly. "Well, Naruto, you're right, that was your biggest mistake. You should remember what jutsu you have and when to use them. Also, you must remember that we all care about you, and seeing you fall off of a cliff might make us a little worried," Shizune concluded. Tsunade then sent Hinata in and instructed Naruto to go wait with the others. The young Hyuga was asked by Tsunade, "Why hello Hinata, and how are you today?" The young girl replied, "I'm fine Tsunade-sensei, and yourself?" Tsunade replied with a smile at the Hyuga. Tsunade nodded to the girl and said, "Okay, thanks. Let's begin your review by discussing what Shizune and I believe you did well on this mission. You like the rest of the team did a very good job. Master both the jutsu we gave you and your basic gauntlet style. As we say, your strategy was very good as well. As it did take Raiga down, you were also the very first one to finish both of your book as well. Now in our opinion the thing that impressed us the most was that you gained a lot of confidence, and stopped your stuttering." Sanin laughed. Shizune took over where her sensei had left off. "For the last part of this we want you to tell us what you think you could have done better." "Well, I know that I was kinda brash when Naruto fell off the cliff. Just rushing in there was not the smartest things. We should have also kept an eye on Rinmara and Karashi as well, especially me as the group lookout," Hinata sighed. Shizune laughed as Tsunade remarked, "You were right in that you were brash, but it was a normal reaction. If I wasn't at the edge and saw that Naruto was okay, I would have turned Raiga into dust. Also you were right, we should have kept an eye on Rinmara and Karashi, but it wasn't just your fault." She grinned. Shizune then sent Kin inside and instructed Hinata to wait. The two elderly women in front of her sat down when they saw her. Following the same welcome address, Hinata Tsunade shared her favorite things about Kin's mission before asking her student what she thought could have been done better. She said, "Well Kin, just like the rest of the group, you were able to learn the 2 jutsu we gave you, the basic style of your chain scythe, and you have memorized the 2 medical books I gave you also. For a new girl, you seem to have meshed well with the group plan to take down Raiga, which is very good." "Well, I didn't remember to use the earth-style earth wall jutsu until after Naruto had already took the lightning jutsu," Kin stated to her instructor. Shizune raised her voice and nodded her head. "You're right Kin, but it wasn't just you who forgot about that jutsu. Naruto could have used it in the first place instead of jumping in front of it." Following her review, she was instructed to send Tenten in. Tsunade made the quick decision to jump right in and end this. "Now Tenten, I'm just going to get on to the review because we're all tired by now," she replied. "Like the rest of the team, you two were able to learn the jutsu we gave you, read the medical text, and master the basic use of the sword shield combo. Your part in the plan to take Raiga down was also very crucial, as well as you saving Naruto with your turtle summon," Tsunade concluded. Shizune said to Tenten, "Now we would like to know what you think you could have done better." Tenten pointed out her biggest error, saying, "Well, like the others, I was very brash when I charged Raiga after he hurt Naruto, and could have gotten myself hurt for not thinking." Tsunade sent everyone but Haku to bed after Tenten's review. She then left a shadow clone with Haku to catch up on everything the others had learned thus far, aside from their summons, since she wanted to put that off until after she was done with the others. Training ground Namikaze Haku completed catching up on his training the following day, while Naruto, Hinata, Kin, and Tenten continued to work on their physical and chakra training. Haku was actually using a shadow clone to write down what she knew about Hidden Mist, its jutsu, and its ways, in addition to finishing up everything they knew aside from the summons. Everything was going great until Naruto fell and began screaming while holding his face in the middle of their final lap around the ground except for the clones. Everyone halted their activities and hurried to his side. He eventually stopped screaming and moved his hands after they had carried him inside and laid him down. Everyone was not as shocked by what they saw next because, as Q had promised, Naruto now had the Bakugan in his eyes. "Where is everyone? I can't see what's going on. All I see is bright light all around me," said Naruto. Hinata hurried to his head and began to soothe him. "It's okay Naruto-kun, you just have the Bakugan now. You're not used to it yet, so everything is super sensitive. All you have to do is stop channeling chakra to your eyes and it should stop," Hinata stated to her concerned boyfriend. They returned to the deep blue they all knew and adored as he stopped the flow of chakra to his eyes as they discussed Naruto's new bloodline. Tsunade and Shizune gave him a checkup to make sure everything was okay before letting him go out for the remainder of the day. However, training was over for the day. Namikaze Garden. Hinata and Naruto were on a date, enjoying a picnic and exploring the garden as they stood in the center of it. Hinata was currently assisting Naruto in further Bakugan training. Finally, Naruto was able to turn it on without becoming blinded by the light. Once he mastered this ability, he had to practice watching from all sides in order to get Naruto to guess how many fingers Hinata was holding up. She was moving around. After some time, they both made the decision to pause and walk to the picnic area they had already set up. About halfway there, while admiring all the flowers and trees, Naruto made a shadow clone for an unknown reason that he kept from Hinata. She did, however, discover the clone's whereabouts when they arrived at the picnic because it was standing in front of her holding an entire bouquet of lilacs and roses. Hinata squealed and exclaimed, "Oh Naruto-kun, you didn't have to send a clone to get me flowers. It's the least I could do for you, my Haim. Now let's sit and eat our food," he replied to her. They snuggled close to one another for the remainder of the afternoon and well into the night while they watched the stars and clouds occasionally, though each would sneak a kiss before rising and making their way to Hinata's room. Nervously, Naruto said, "Hinata-Haim, I've had a wonderful time on our date today, and hope we may do it again." Hinata approached Naruto and gave him a final kiss before entering her room, leaving Naruto speechless before he went to his own room only to discover a surprise visitor inside. The room of Naruto Tenten was sitting on Naruto's bed, and Naruto walked over to take a seat next to her. The girl with the bun hair asked, "So Naruto-kun, how was your date with Hinata-chan?" Naruto told his second girlfriend, "It went very well actually Tenten-chan, so if I may ask what are you doing here?" She leaned over and placed her mouth next to Naruto's ear. Turning to face him directly, she traced her finger down Naruto-kun's body and said, sensuously, "Well, I wanted my date to Naruto-kun, and I want to know when it is." Tenten attempted to take it out of him with her puppy dog face jutsu, but Naruto responded, "Well, I was actually thinking about taking you on one tomorrow, but it's going to be a surprise." Naruto led her to his door, kissed her on the lips, and let her out after saying, "Nope, it's a surprise and you're going to have to find out later now. Tenten-chan, I think it's time to go to bed, I'll see you in the morning." Training ground Namikaze today was Team Tsunade's first day of full team training with Haku, and they were standing by the track in their training area. The only thing Haku needed to do was sign the summoning contracts, which she was informed would take place during their subsequent mission, now that she was finally up to speed on everything the others had learned. Shizune began to lead them on their morning run. After making everyone stretch, the group began their physical training, which included kicks and log punches, after completing 10 laps around the track, or 5 miles. The group began their chakra training following their physical training. They all began with the exercise Haku was familiar with from the secret mist village. Having already mastered the others they had brought, they needed to focus their chakra on their bodies so that, should water fall on them, it would roll off without getting them wet. They began elemental chakra training by having each person choose a different element to work on after they had finished that, and sent one shadow clone each to continue practicing it. Hinata began with earth, breaking down sand and tiny rocks to the smallest levels with her chakra. Kin began with wind, cutting leaves into tiny pieces and tracing the lines on them with her chakra. Tenten began with lightning, making her kunai like magnets by creating static with her chakra naturally. Haku separated the salt from the water in the bay close to the wave in order to master her water chakra in order to prevent a leaf from burning out of the center. Naruto used his chakra while working on fire. Following their chakra training, Naruto and Haku, Tenten and Kin, and Hinata and Shizune were paired off to test their taijutsu. Naruto was able to keep Haku in front of him this time, preventing her from moving behind him and striking. Despite the fact that his taijutsu was improving significantly, both of them chose to draw their weapons after their spare time. Naruto pulled out Ginner, while Haku pulled out her Kabikari Haucho. While practicing their taijutsu spar, Tenten and Kin were fairly evenly matched. Kin had much more stamina now than when she first joined the group, but her technique was still based on the Leaf Academy style. Lacking her own, Tenten pulled out Girabanen and Kin after undoing her chain scythe after witnessing Haku and Naruto brandish their weapons and engage in combat. Shizune was the group's most seasoned taijutsu practitioner, and Hinata was up against him. Hinata used a combination of the fluidity from the Mist Village taijutsu the group had been studying earlier and a gentle fist style to hit Shizune throughout the battle. Both of them pulled out their weapons after learning that Hinata was superior in taijutsu. Hinata used the quarter staff she used for close quarters fighting to defeat Airguys and Shizune. They worked on their jutsu for the remainder of the afternoon and started learning Haku's hidden mist jutsu while Naruto and Tenten went inside to prepare for their date. Haku was taken to the main house for lunch by all the girls except Tenten. Wave Beach. Tenten, Naruto, and Orochimaru sat down for a picnic that Naruto had made for their date. After strolling along the Namikaze compound's private beach following their meal, they sat on the beach and started talking while leaning against a palm tree. Tenten sighed as she leaned her head into Naruto's shoulder and held Orochimaru in her lap. "Naruto-kun, that picnic was unbelievable. I never knew you could cook so well." Naruto started stroking Tenten's hair after removing it from her buns. Naruto sighed in satisfaction as she stroked her hair once more. "Thanks Ten-chan, and I didn't just live off of ramen, you know. I did cook for myself, I just didn't have that much good food to do it with." Naruto questioned his new girlfriend. "You know Ten-chan, your hair looks really good down, why do you keep it up so much?" Tenten sighed slightly, enjoying the sensation of Naruto caressing her hair. Tenten smirked teasingly as she moved her head to meet Naruto's eyes and said, "Well, you know how I hate fangirls, right? Well, I didn't want to be one of the girls that just cared about looks, so I kept mine hidden. Why would you like me to wear it down more, Naruto-kun?" Naruto smirked back at her, blushing from the overt flirtation. "Yes I do. Actually I think it would look good in one long braid down your back. In fact I could braid it for you if you wanted me to," he stated when she turned around. Naruto assumed it was okay and began braiding her hair. Tenten pulled out a mirror from her bag and looked at her newly styled hair, which was now in a long braid that reached the middle of her back. Tenten said, "Now that is done, how about a small swim?" Before entering one of the nearby tiny changing rooms. As Tenten emerged from the changing room, she was dressed in a black bikini with a shuriken on top and a hole for her nipple. Naruto was dressed in orange and blue trunks, and Orochimaru was already in the water. Splashing, they played with Orochimaru and swam for a while before drying off and returning to the others to complete their training. The Forest of Death. After everyone had gathered, the Genin boys engaged in their first simulated mission against their sensei. Kiba would track the messenger, Lee would attack the messenger and any guards, and Shino and Neji would intercept the message in order to decode it. Their objective was to intercept an enemy message. Shikamaru would decode it and Choji would defend him once they returned to the base. Kiba led his group to attack after he had followed his sister to a secluded trail in the forest. With his new drunken fist style, Lee took a drink from his gourd and lunged at Liu Yan, removing the hug from his waist. Shino sent his bugs out to retrieve the scroll without the dogs noticing after Neji had already discovered that Hana's dogs had the message while she did not. Bore attacked them after they returned to their base with the scroll. Choji anticipated this and threw up an earth wall in time to stop multiple mud bullets from taking it. Shikamaru managed to decipher the message, which read, "Mission accomplished," in the Sand Village's code, just as Choji managed to take Boar head on. Everyone stood in front of their sensei after completing the mission, and Jiraiya then gave them a debriefing. "Good job all of you, and now on to your new assignments. Kiba, you will stay with your sister and finish learning the advanced tracking jutsu of your clan. Lee, haven't been able to control your drunken fist style, you will now be learning the soaring eagle style from a new dove. Choji, having mastered the basic of defensive jutsu, you will be going to your father and training in some of your jutsu for personal defense. Shino and Neji, you will go with Ibiki now and learn about interrogation basics. Now you all have the weekend off." Dismissed, Jiraiya stated prior to returning to his workplace the remainder of the day. Namikaze Thermal Springs. The other girls went to the hot springs to speak with Haku after Shizune went to the bank to deposit their money and Tenten and Naruto left for their date. Hinata questioned the ice user, "So Haku, what changed your mind from attacking Naruto-kun? You seemed pretty intent on doing it earlier." As Haku answered, he looked anxiously at the other girls. "Well, I was pretty intent on killing him, that was until he told me the whole story of what happened after I was knocked out. After that I remembered how he was when we first met in the woods, and well, I believed him." She blushed slightly. Kin told the blushing girl, "Naruto does have a way with people when it comes to changing people for the better." After a little more time in the spring, Hinata stood up and wrapped herself in a towel before turning to face the other girls. She winked and turned to go, saying, "Well girls, I'm going to go find Naruto and Tenten. Oh, and remember, I have last say on who does or doesn't go out with Naruto-kun." Kin asked Haku, "Did she just say what I thought she said?" The other girl simply shrugged, oblivious to what had transpired. The secret sand village. Tamari was discussing her next mission with her brother while they were seated inside the Cage's home. Then Tamari asked her brother, "So Gaara, do we have any idea where Naruto and his team are?" Gaara responded to his sister while taking a sip of his tea, "We have intel that they are staying in Wave Country. I have just spoke to the Hokage and he said they would be leaving on a long-term mission soon and it will take about a month and a half. Afterwards you will be heading to Wave with our treaty, and to act as an envoy," he informed his sister. "You mean that my mission will be to stay at an island as an envoy? Oh, the horror of not having to be in the hot desert." Tamari laughed. Mindscape. Naruto entered his mindscape as he waited for the other girls to emerge for their afternoon training. Naruto tapped Q on the shoulder after discovering her sitting down to meditate. Naruto said, "Hey Q-chan, what's up?" Q said to her host, "Oh hey Naruto-kun, nothing. So how is your new Bakugan working out?" Naruto turned on his Bakugan and grinned at her, "It's going well. I still need some more training with Hinata-chan before I could use it in battle, but besides that it's good." Q grinned and nodded to her host. Q approached Naruto and gave him a hug, saying, "Well, that's to be expected, but I'm sure you'll get it down in no time. I have faith in you, Naruto-kun." Naruto gazed into her eyes while giving her a back hug with a cunning smile. Naruto asked, "So Q-chan, how long do you think it will be until you can come out and play with us?" With an equally cunning smile, Q continued, "Well, it should only take a few more months, and then I can come out and play with you all you want." Before kissing him on the cheek and sending him off, Q said, "Now I think the girls are waiting for you. Have fun, Naruto-kun." Training ground. Namikaze. The group practiced their jutsu for the next portion of their training, with each member learning a new technique. The mud trap jutsu, which Hinata was learning, would trap her opponents in mud, making them easier targets. In order to help her teammates and advance her Senbon, Kin was attempting to learn wind style. Breakthrough Tenten was learning how to use a static trap field, which would trap her opponents and make it simpler for her to strike them. Haku was practicing the water prison jutsu, which her former sensei had used extensively in an attempt to catch up to Sasuke in his fire jutsu. Naruto was now learning fire style, or fireball jutsu. Naruto and Hinata made a shadow clone and sent it with the other members of the group who were going with Haku to further their training in the mist style of taijutsu. After their jutsu training, the real ones continued practicing the art of the gentle fist taijutsu. After they returned from their taijutsu training, Tsunade gathered them all and instructed them to spend the remainder of the day practicing with their summons. She then let them choose which summon they would use and train with. Tower of Hokages. As Kakashi entered holding a scroll, Jiraiya remarked, "Ah, Kakashi, I see that you got the mission I asked you for." Kakashi handed the scroll to his new leader, who sat down in the chair across from him. "Yes, Hokage-sama, it wasn't that hard either with you having Iruka in on all of this as well, but if I may ask, why are you sending that team on this mission?" The copy ninja responded. When Jiraiya took the scroll from Kakashi, she simply grinned. "Well, Kakashi, we both know that the actress they are going to be guarding is really the princess, and as you know they are trying to build a nice reputation. So what better to do that with than saving a princess?" Jiraiya replied with an arrogant grin before he burst out laughing. He stated, "And I'm trying to get her to star in the new Make Out Paradise movie." Kakashi couldn't help but laugh with Jiraiya as he lifted his head from his own copy of Make Out Paradise. Then he stood up and walked away, saying, "Well then, on that alone I hope they succeed in this very important mission." Jiraiya called out again, summoning jutsu, and called forth Gamaboda, the toad messenger. Gamaboda questioned the toad Sanin, "Jiraiya, why have you called me now? I was having dinner with the family, you know." Jiraiya gave the toad the scroll and replied, "I'm sorry to interrupt your dinner, Gamaboda, but I have a scroll I need you to deliver to Tsunade for me. It's her team's next mission," he replied. Jiraiya shook his head at the offer, so Gamaboda returned to his wife and dinner. "Very well then, Jiraiya, but after dinner my wife made a lovely fly soup if you would like some." Jiraiya then used his crystal ball to spy on others. Kin's room. Following their training, Kin and Haku went to speak in Kin's room. Even though Zabuza had feelings for Haku and Orochimaru had no feelings for Kin, they both knew that the other had once worked for a master who wasn't the kindest of people. Haku questioned the former Sound Kunoichi, "So how did you meet Naruto and his little group anyway?" Kin told the first part of her story. "Well, I first met him when my team was sent to attack his in the Chunin exams. After we failed to kill them, Orochimaru was going to kill us but I escaped. After that I was hiding in a cave outside of the Leaf Village. I saw everything that happened when the Uchiha left and went to Orochimaru. That was the next time I saw Naruto when he was fighting," Kin continued. Haku finally learned why Naruto's team wasn't present after hearing that portion of Kin's story. "So that's what happened to the Uchiha. I wondered what happened to him," she replied. "Well, after that Naruto was banished and the girls came with him. That's when they found me in my cave. At first they attacked knowing who I was, but after Tsunade's sensei told them to stop, I told them my tale and joined them." Kin concluded her narrative. The former Sound Kunoichi said, "And we already heard your story from Naruto, so what do you plan on doing now?" "I want to earn their trust like you have. I still remember my first meeting with Naruto in the woods. He called me one of his first true friends, and I want to show him that I deserved that," Haku said with a smile on her face. Kin chose to be a little cunning after glancing at her new friend. "And what about being with Naruto? You know that you have to impress and show the other girls that you like him as well?" Kin replied with a smirk. Before she could speak, the hope on Haku's face quickly changed to a flush with a blush that was almost as deep as Hinata's. Haku remarked, "Well, if it does turn out that I like him more and he likes me, then we'll go from there. As to the other girls, I do like a challenge." Ground 13 for training. Having just returned from Hana's training, Ino and Sakura were a little worn out as they began their daily genjutsu training with Kurenai. Given that they could both now dispel genjutsu without any issues, Kurenai allowed them both some time to eat lunch before beginning their lesson, which she decided would focus on the false sleep jutsu today. "Okay girls, now that you had a chance to rest, and have been able to dispel most genjutsu up to B rank, I have decided to start teaching you genjutsu, starting with the false sleep jutsu," Kurenai stated to her eager pupils. Sakura questioned her sensei, "Sensei, isn't that the same jutsu Kabuto used on everyone in the Chunin exam?" Kurenai nodded, grinning at the girl for remembering. "Yes, Sakura, it was now the false sleep jutsu is a low C rank genjutsu, with one major flaw in it. When you use this jutsu, feathers start to fall all around your target. Now if you're just a normal person or low level shinobi, then that wouldn't matter, but for a more experienced shinobi you would know that a genjutsu was being used because of the feathers." Kurenai continued. She asked her students, "Now, Can one of you tell me a way to make this jutsu more effect? Well, if there isn't a way to take away the feathers, we could at least change the color of them to match local birds, Ino replied. As the young mind walker put it, that's right Ino, you can't take away the feathers but you can change the colors of them. Good job. Kurenai bid them farewell and wished them luck as they practiced the jutsu until Anko arrived to take them to the next phase of their training. Meeting room Namikaze. After being summoned by their leader, Team Tsunade concluded their training for the day and sat in their new meeting room. Tsunade informed her team, "Okay team, it looks like we have a new mission coming up, it's a C to B rank mission." Naruto shouted, "Yes, another mission, where to this time Tsunade-sensei?" She explained their mission to her team. The mission is to protect the actress Fujikaze Yuki during her movie From Fire Country to Snow Country. Naruto, I also have a mission for you. We leave in 4 days and I want you to take those books on sealing and see if you can find a seal for keeping our clothes dry and warm. If you can, then I want you to put them on all of our clothes. Okay. Tsunade responded by assigning Naruto a task. Naruto grinned at the prospect of having his own mission, which he could only accept with excitement. With a cunning grin, he said, "Of course Tsunade-sensei, but what do I get for completing this mission?" Tenten and Hinata both walked over to Naruto and struck him on the shoulders before Hinata and Tenten embraced him and dragged him away to begin searching for the seals. Orochimaru following closely behind, Hinata remarked, "You get the happiness from keeping your girlfriends warm, Naruto-kun." Smiling, Tsunade said, "Well, at least we know that he's in good hands." She then walked out of the room. Sea of Taste. Naruto chose to take Hinata and Tenten out on a date to a restaurant on the main island after they assisted him in finding the seals he was searching for. As he entered, he informed the waitress that he had previously reserved a private room and asked her to lead them back to it. All three of them sat down around the table to chat after returning there and having the waitress take their orders. Hinata asked her boyfriend, "So Naruto-kun, how are you and Ten-chan doing?" Naruto responded to his first girlfriend by grinning at Tenten and putting his arm around her. He grinned broadly and remarked, "We're doing great, Hinata-chan, if I say so myself. Our first date was pretty amazing." Tenten kissed Naruto on the cheek and remarked, "Yes, it was pretty amazing, and the picnic Naruto made for us was delicious." With a cunning smile, Hinata remarked, "Well then it looks like I'm going to have Naruto cook for me next." Hinata questioned the weapon user, "Anyway Tenten, have you considered letting Naruto mark you as his mate and girlfriend?" Tenten began to respond to her while grinning at Hinata, "Actually I planned on letting him do it after the mission to Snow Country. I would let him do it sooner but I didn't want anything to happen during the mission. That could hurt someone," she sighed. As Naruto approached Hinata to draw her nearer to the other two, he said, "Oh, that's okay Ten-chan. I was a little freaked out too when I got the Bakugan, so I understand, and Hinata-chan here has had a lot more chakra so she had to retrain her control as well." The waitress brought their food after they had been chatting for a while, and they all fed each other. While they were eating, all of them rose and went home for the night. Village of Hidden Sound. Orochimaru questioned his number one, Kabuto, "Have we discovered where Tsunade and her team are hiding?" Kabuto bowed as he approached his leader. "Our spies have found out that they are hiding in Wave Country, and that they have a mission to the Snow Country soon," Kabuto replied. Orochimaru instructed his medic, "Well then Kabuto, I want you and a group of ninja to go to Wave and capture one of their friends. Before heading out to find a team to accompany them," Kabuto said. "Yes, Orochimaru-sama, as you say, I'll leave once they leave for Snow." That night, the only sound coming from the Hidden Sound village was "Cuckoo cuckoo."
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.